It has arguably been the most gorgeous weekend of the year in New York. Sunday in the big town, and the Mets hoping for some gorgeous baseball as well as they try and cop a win in their series with the Tigers. At Citi Field in New York, Pix 11 Sports presents New York Mets baseball. Today, the Mets play the Detroit Tigers. And a pleasant good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Citi Field. I'm Gary Cohen. Keith Hernandez joins me in just a moment as the Mets wrap up their three-game series against the Tigers. Detroit has taken the first two. Great pitching and home run hitting by the Tigers. In the opening game on Friday night, Daisuke Matsuzaka, who had just signed the day before, made his Mets debut. Second batter of the game, Torrey Hunter, ruined his beginning with a home run, and then the next inning, after Hunter set the tone, Miguel Cabrera hit a three-run homer, his 41st of the year. Daisuke settled in after that, retired the next 10 in a row, but not enough because the Mets had very little offense going against Doug Fister, and the Tigers won the opener of that series 6-1. Then yesterday, Matt Harvey against Max Scherzer, the two starters in the All-Star game, and Harvey gave up 13 hits. He was able to hold the Tigers at bay for the most part, but not against the opposing pitcher, Scherzer, who drove in the first Detroit run with a double. Tigers got two in the second inning, and that was plenty because Scherzer was on his game. 19-1 now after 6 scoreless innings. Scherzer struck out 11, and the Tigers beat the Mets yesterday 3-0. So the Tigers have taken the first two of this series, and the Tigers came in with a reputation as a team that could pitch and a team that could hit. They haven't disappointed yet.
They have not. They got a great starting rotation. Remember, they started out in April at 500. Basically, had a good April, and then kind of trudged along May and June at 500, and then they caught fire in July and had that big weekend series on July 4th against the Indians where they swept them 4 and kind of opened up the lid, the bulge. But anytime you have a fielder and a Cabrera hitting 3 and 4 to line up, you're going to win ball games.
And as for the Mets, they've now scored just a total of 2 runs in their last 3 games, and starting to feel the effects now of not having David Wright for the long term.
Well, yes, David Wright also, but it's important to point out this is a youthful lineup, and when a team struggles collectively, as this team has scoring runs, it really affects the young hitters. You got the Flores, Lagares, they've been kind of struggling, although Flores has been hitting the ball. So they're kind of putting pressure on themselves, but this is all growing pains for me. I don't feel badly about them not scoring runs. They're taking their lumps right now.
As for the Mets on the mound today, Dylan G will take the ball, and for the last 3 months, G has been as good as anybody in the game. Now we'll see how he does against these powerful Tigers.
Well, remember his 2-6 start. Well, he's over 500. That win in Minnesota, that makeup game. He's 9-8. His last 7 games, 3-1, 1.47 earned run average. Has never pitched against Detroit.
And a local kid, Rick Porcello, out of Seton Hall Prep, will make his Citi Field debut.
Well, 24 years old, 5th year with the Tigers. He's won 14 games twice. He's a sinker, curveball pitcher, doesn't walk anybody. 1 start in 2008 against the Mets, he got hammered.
Just 24 years old and already in his 5th major league season. It's the Mets and the Tigers on another gorgeous day in New York. First pitch coming up from Citi Field. truth in engineering. By Time Warner Cable. Enjoy all the things you love better. Call 1-855-WANT-TWC. By the Nissan Bottom Line Sales Event. Choose a better way to drive and save. By Dunkin' Donuts. America runs on Dunkin'. By Mazda. They believe if it's not worth driving, it's not worth building. And by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Save 42% off Mets tickets for games through this Thursday when the Mets host the Phillies. Visit Mets.com/strikeout to take advantage of this offer. Keys to the game brought to you by Jaguar. See the new model year lineup at JaguarUSA.com.
Well, stay hot at home. Well, G's been hot now, for the last 7 starts, so he's just been fantastic. So keep it up. Try to get to his 10th win. Offense, well, they've been struggling, but it's been played against some pretty stiff competition. And how do you slow that guy down? Third batting, I'm already crowning him. He is going to wear the crown for the batting title.
Is that official?
3 times in a row.
Dylan G getting set to make the start for the Mets on a gorgeous Sunday. Come on back. His first pitch is next. Dealers. Victor Martinez gets his second start of the series behind the plate after not catching a game for 2 years. Torrey Hunter back in there after resting yesterday, but Jose Iglesias still out. Iglesias hit in the elbow by a pitch Friday night, so he's sitting for the second straight day.
Well, we've talked about Dylan and what a wonderful little run he's on, but everybody forgets about that 2-6 start and how he turned it around at Yankee Stadium. And really, his record should be better than 9-8, but he's going for his 10th win. He has just been spectacular. And we'll take a look at the defense, and that's brought to you as usual, as always, from Toyota. And as always, let's go places. So where do we want to go today? We want to go to third base, and Mr. Turner getting his 4th start at third base. Murph, Quintanilla, Davis. It's the usual lineup. Darno behind the plate.
New York Mets baseball is brought to you by your Tri-State BMW centers. I have to say, you were sounding most chipper this morning. Did you have a good night's sleep?
I did not. I had a very bad night's sleep. Borderline nightmare. My cat woke me up this morning and bit my finger. My index finger. It was 9:30. I went, oh my gosh. And I had to jump in the shower, 1 cup of coffee, and thank gosh I had a full tank of gas in the car. And boom, got here.
You didn't speed, did you?
Well,
you played the 5th.
Can't expect me to go 55, can you?
Wasn't that Sammy Hagar? I can't drive 55. Mets trying to salvage the finale of this series. Mets have now dropped 3 straight, scoring just 2 runs in those 3 games. So Dylan G will need to be at his best today. Austin Jackson will lead things off for the Tigers. Jackson 3 for 9 in this series, including a home run in the opening game of the series on Friday night. It'll be Jackson, Hunter, and Cabrera for the high-scoring Tigers, who lead the major leagues in runs per game, over 5 runs per game for this powerful Detroit team. And this is a good day for a Met pitcher to pitch well, because you know it is Tom Seaver bobblehead day. Dylan G set to go, and the first pitch of the afternoon is down the middle for a strike, 0-1.
Well, one thing that Dylan does well, he mixes his pitches up. He's not afraid to throw his fastball. He throws strikes.
Struck out 9 in his last start in Minnesota over 7 2/3. Didn't give up an earned run in that game, and got some nice help from his defense behind him, especially Juan Lagares, who had a big day in center field that Monday makeup game. And the slider from G gets him ahead of Jackson, 1-2. If you go back to that start that Keith mentioned, May the 30th at Yankee Stadium, that was the game that Dylan struck out 12 and really turned his season around. Looper into shallow right center, and that's going to fall for a base hit. So Jackson with a little dunker to get the Tigers started after they rang up 15 hits in yesterday's game. And Torrey Hunter will come up. Beginning with that start on May the 30th, G is 7-2 with a 2.27 ERA. If you go through all of baseball since that time, so that's nearly 3 months, that's the 4th best ERA in the majors over that span. Only Jose Fernandez, who looks like he may be en route to winning the Rookie of the Year, Clayton Kershaw, who's probably going to win the Cy Young, and David Price have had a better ERA than Dylan G over those last 3 months. Here's Torrey Hunter. Did not start yesterday, and G nearly picked Jackson off first base. Close play.
So Dylan, of course, with the blood clot last year, I got to think that was in the back of his head, maybe a little anxious, and I think it's all in the past now. And I mean, that's consistency when you look over that record, Gary.
Well, he's been more aggressive. He's used all his pitches. He's probably throwing a little harder than he did early in the year, as Hunter fouls off the fastball.
Well, what I've always liked about Dylan, and I've always said over the years he's been here, once I've got to see him and make an assessment of him, is the one thing I look for in a pitcher. I've seen a lot of pitchers with great stuff. Boy, when you get them in a close game late, men on base, and they can fold their tent. Dylan does not fold his tent. If you're going to beat him, you've got to beat him with his best stuff. He's got guts. And that doesn't come out of a computer. You can't put a value on that.
Runs the fastball inside to Hunter, 1-1. Torrey Hunter didn't start yesterday, but came off the bench, got a couple of at-bats. Miguel Cabrera on deck. Hunter 2 for 7 in the series. He provided the keynote on Friday night with a homer and a double in the first 2 innings off Daisuke Matsuzaka. Hunter having a terrific year at age 38, hitting at .305, 8th in the American League.
This is not a Tiger team that steals a lot of bases. They beat you just with sound fundamental offense, and those guys, the veteran hitters in this ball club. This is a good lineup.
Jackson can run, but he doesn't. He hasn't stolen a base since the middle of June.
He's only got 6.
Well, he had 5 of those in April. There's a little pop up on the left side. Justin Turner into foul ground and puts it away for the first out of the day. So 1 out and 1 on, and that's how Dylan G will face Miguel Cabrera. Cabrera 4 for 9 in this series. Had 2 hits yesterday. In a 3-run homer in the 2nd inning on Friday night. Max Scherzer becoming only the 3rd pitcher in Major League history to begin a season 19-1.
Well, did you see him? He was fighting himself yesterday. He did not have his good stuff, but what impressed me about him was when the men were on base, needed the out, he got it. He got the outs. It was all over the place yesterday. And it really wasn't about being the patience of Met hitters at the plate. He did not have his sharp stuff. But when the men were on base and the outs he needed, he went right after the hitters and got them.
He struck out 8 of the first 12 hitters he faced. Matt Harvey really fought himself yesterday, and he was very disappointed in his outing. Now, he only gave up 2 runs, but he allowed 13 hits over 6 2/3. And Matt had some very interesting quotes after the game, I thought, about how he's feeling at this point in the season.
Well, incredibly, he said he was tired, and a lot of guys are tired, and those are normally things I think you're a young player, you get asked the question, in the context of the question he was asked directly, if he was tired. Those are questions, as you become a veteran, you don't have to answer every question the press asks you. And that is something you never say. If you're going to say anything in response, it says you say, no, I'm not tired, I'm fine. You don't want to leave yourself open for any, like, okay, excuses. I'm not saying that. I think it's just inexperience, and those are things you've got to learn as you become a veteran and you handle the questions that are fired at you by the media, particularly the New York media.
G behind on Cabrera at 2-0, and Miguel hits it in the air to deep left field. Forget it. That is way out of here. Cabrera strikes again into the second deck. His 42nd home run of the year, a 2-run shot. And the Tigers jump in front 2-0. He is amazing.
Well, this was we would say in the airplane, in the dugout, did they serve any food on that flight?
Well, he leads the league in batting average by a wide margin. He leads the league in RBIs. He's now just 4 home runs behind Chris Davis for the American League home run lead. And the way he's going right now, you wouldn't bet against him being able to put together back-to-back triple crowns, something nobody's ever done before.
Wow, all world. What a hitter.
So a quick 2-0 lead for the Tigers, and Prince Fielder takes outside.
Let's see. Okay, there it is. Same pitch they hit off Matt's Dice-K. Fastball up, wanted it away, up, out over the plate, full extension. Mistake.
He made it disappear up the tunnel.
And Dylan knows it. You're only 1 of 42, so don't worry.
That is the first inning home run that G has allowed this year. In fact, he hadn't allowed a run in the first inning in any of his last 10 starts. And now, after giving up the home run, falls behind Fielder 3-0. Fielder 2 for 8 in this series. Today playing his 473rd consecutive game. Day game, night game, doesn't matter. He's always in there. Swinging 3-0, and he fouls back the fastball.
Well, I do think you have to pitch Cabrera upstairs. Oh my goodness, is that a cousin?
Well, he's going for the Prince Fielder look, and I think he has it just about nailed.
Got to get on that, get over to that Keith stand and have a couple more of those burgers, get a little more weight. You've got to pitch Cabrera upstairs, but up and in. You saw a lot of his base hits up the middle, where balls down the strike zone. He can really drop the barrel on that low ball. It's just that's one of the great hitters right there.
Fielder gets jammed and pops one up. Darno looks like he'll have room, and there are 2 out. So G comes back from 3-0 to get Fielder on the foul pop up, and there are 2 away. Here are your American League home run leaders. Cabrera now just 4 behind Davis.
You could catch him.
Davis has slowed down a little bit since the All-Star break. And Cabrera has just kept getting hotter despite all the ailments that he's been fighting. And that's the amazing thing. I mean, he can barely run. I mean, he's not fast anyway. But right now, with the leg injury that he suffered after fouling balls off his knee and his shin, and the abdominal injury that he has, he can barely move, and yet his swing looks perfect. Here's Victor Martinez, the switch hitter, catching for the 2nd time in this series, and he takes a fastball for a strike. Martinez has started 112 games as a DH this year, 10 games at first base, and now his 2nd as a catcher. Missed all of last year with a torn ACL, so he had not caught a game since August of 2 years ago, before Friday night. And he handled himself pretty well. 1 stolen base against him, but he looked like he had not been away for nearly that long from his catching duties.
not much power from the right side. Only one home run from the right side against left-handed pitching. But another. Oh boy, see what did I tell you? Same pitch.
On the left is Daisuke's pitch on Friday, and on the right, G's pitch today. Same spot.
Your Honor, I rest my case.
I think you might win the verdict. Grounded toward the middle. Murphy slides over in front of it and throws out Martinez to end the inning. But Miguel Cabrera's two-run homer gets the Tigers off to a fast start. Cabrera hits his 42nd. The Mets are down 2-0 early. Try Honda dealers. Day off for Wilmer Flores, so Justin Turner gets a start at third base. Otherwise, the Mets running out their usual lineup. Travis d'Arnaud back in there after John Buck caught Matt Harvey yesterday. And the Mets will face Rick Porcello, who grew up a Met fan in New Jersey.
Yes, he did. Morgantown, New Jersey, to be exact, is where he was born. And a #1 draft pick, his 5th season, his first year. He won 14 ball games for the Tigers. And then kind of regressed back to 500, and then they came back and won 14 again. And last year was a 500 pitcher. So he's 24 years of age. That's why they haven't traded him. And that's a young man with already 57 wins in the big leagues. And we'll take a look again at your Toyota defense. Your Toyota Tiger defense this time. It's brought to you by Toyota. Let's go places. Nice acquisition for the Tigers in the 9-time Gold Glove winner. He hasn't hurt you defensively, and he's having a heck of an offensive season. Torrey Hunter, of course, a free agent. Great pickup for the Tigers.
Of course, he won those Gold Gloves playing center field. Earned the nickname Spider-Man for the way he was able to climb walls and take away home runs back in his prime. Eric Young will lead things off. Young took an 0 for yesterday after 3 hits on Friday night, hitting a .248 for the year. And the corners pinch in against Eric. And Porcello's first pitch, a fastball for a strike. The Mets have not tried much bunting against these very stationary corner infielders for the Tigers with Fielder and Cabrera. Nice day out on Flushing Bay. Be interesting to see if they try to do that today, as Young is late on Porcello's fastball, and it's 0-2. Daniel Murphy on deck, then Marlon Byrd for the Mets in the bottom of the first. Porcello had been going great guns. He had a terrific stretch of 7 starts, 5-0, 2.62 until his last start when he got roughed up by the Twins on Tuesday night in Detroit. He's not a hard thrower, but he's mixed in a better curveball this year and used that pitch more. It's interesting because on the broadcast yesterday we were talking about Max Scherzer and how he's added a curve to help him against lefties. Porcello has always had a problem against lefties, and it's gotten no better this year. Slapped to shortstop and comes up for Santiago, and he throws out Young. In fact, lefties have hit over 300 against Porcello every year of his career, and 321 this year.
Well, you know what? He's got the gun there, says 92. Gary, 92 is plenty. Not much time to think at 92. So,
but who said you could think it hit anyway? Isn't that what Yogi Berra said? You can't do both?
Can't do both. I always loved that conversation with Jeter when he was young. Jeter swung at the high fastball and went to Yogi and said, I can't hit that high fastball. And Yogi said, well, don't swing at it. He goes, but you hit it. He goes, yeah, I could hit it. You can't. Yogi
hit balls over his head in the dirt. Murphy 1 for 9 in this series, and he hits one foul down the left side. View from the top of the Pepsi porch. Those are the numbers against Rick Porcello against left-hand hitters. So it's gotten no better this year, even though he has thrown that curveball more. So got a change up, but it doesn't seem to be that effective for him.
I have not seen him pitch very much. I'll keep a good eye on him and try to decipher why.
Mets faced Porcello once a couple of years ago in Detroit, and they beat him up. I mean, really beat him up to the tune of 7 runs and 11 hits in 3 2/3 in a 14-3 Met win at Comerica Park. That's the only time Porcello has faced the Mets. But there are only 2 Mets in the lineup today who've ever faced him before, Murphy being one and Justin Turner the other.
All the young players in the lineup. Here's your motion. I love that angle. Straightforward motion.
Porcello was in the big leagues when he was just 20 years old. He was a first-round pick out of high school in 2007 and really got to the big leagues in a hurry.
You know, considering coming out of high school, 1 year in the minors, and to win 14 games as a rookie and do it twice.
And you could really make the case that his rookie year was his best season to date. But in this rotation where you've got a Verlander and a Scherzer and an Anibal Sanchez, he fits nicely as a 4th starter. And he's still only 24 years old.
Get this. We'll take a look at his landing foot, the one he kicks with. Again, another guy that doesn't step directly home, kind of towards the third base line.
Murphy lines one to center, but right at Austin Jackson for the second out.
Was it Pfister that did that, or was
Pfister really threw around?
Yes.
Even more so than Porcello.
I remember one of the extreme guys that did that was Randy Jones in his heyday with the Padres, the Cy Young Award winner. Really threw across his body. I think it made him really have. Everybody talked about Randy Jones' sinker. He had a wicked slider, hard slider, a lot of late bite and break.
Here's Marlon Byrd. Marlon 2 for 8 in this series. Top 10 in the National League in both home runs and RBIs, and he grounds one to the right side. Moving over is Infante to grab it, and Rick Porcello has a 1-2-3 inning after being handed an early 2-0 lead. We go to the second. 2-0 Tigers.
want one.
Tom Seaver, Arnold today, and bobbleheadedness.
I didn't get the J one either. I'd like one of those too.
Today's game is presented in high definition by Time Warner Cable. Enjoy all the things you love better. Call 1-855-WANT-TWC. You can want a lot of things.
Bahrain.
Andy Dirks leads off against Dylan G in the top of the second and takes inside for ball one. Dirks went 3 for 3 yesterday. Get him to start in right field yesterday, playing left field today, which is his normal spot. Dylan G falling behind a lot of hitters early on, more so than normal. 2-0.
Well, there it is. Shea Bridge.
It's 3-0 to Dirks.
Well, I'm so glad they named the bridge after Bill Shea. What a wonderful man he was. No longer the stadium, but at least his memory is there on that bridge forever.
4-pitch walk. And Dirks is on.
For all you kids that don't know, or I'm sure there's a few of you out there, he's instrumental in bringing baseball back to New York, National League Baseball back to New York.
Now Omar Infante, a huge pain in the Mets side. 5 for 9 in this series, now hitting .348 lifetime against the Mets. Only 4 players in history who've had at least 250 at bats against the Mets who have higher batting averages than Omar Infante. And you can probably name them if you've been watching the Mets long enough. Rico Carney, Derek Jeter, Tony Gwynn. That's surprising was Gene Richards. I don't remember him being that big a Met killer. Speedster for the Padres.
Leadoff hitter.
Yeah.
All the other 4 were, I'm sorry, 3. The top 3 were pretty fair hitters. Rico Carney was a tremendous hitter, folks. They said that Rico Carney, who played for the Milwaukee Braves and Atlanta when they moved, and he hit behind Aaron in the 4-hole after Matthews retired, Eddie Matthews. Evidently in the minor leagues he had his wallet stolen more than a few times. He'd play with his wallet in his back pocket every game.
I was just about to tell the same story. It's the funniest thing I've ever heard.
Oh gosh. Can't make it up. There's always been thieves in the clubhouse.
Must have hurt like heck when he slid. 1-1 to Infante, and he pops one up. Quintanilla flips the glasses down as he retreats. And that's the first out of the inning.
And speaking of thieves in the clubhouse, there always were thieves, particularly in the minor leagues, and I grew up in the Cardinal chain. There was a no tolerance policy in the St. Louis organization. If someone reported a wallet being stolen or jewelry out of the communal lockbox where you put your stuff, they found out who did it, and that person was released. End of story. It was all about character.
Would seem like a no-brainer, wouldn't it? I mean, nobody needs a thief at the clubhouse.
I had my wallet stolen.
Really?
Yeah, I did.
By a teammate?
Yep. I won't mention his name.
That's
I found
terrible.
out who it was.
Ramon Santiago, the batter, lines one into right field for a base hit. Dirks will pull in at second. So there's the third hit against Dylan G, who's not looking sharp early in this game.
Well, from the stretch, Dylan's very compact. Not a whole lot going on. Very sound fundies. 3/4 delivery.
So now G will face Rick Porcello. His first plate appearance of the season. You see his career batting statistics. Yesterday, the first at bat by the Tiger pitcher proved to be a decisive one when Max Scherzer swung away and lined a double to drive in a run. Of course, Scherzer had done his share of hitting when he first came up with the Diamondbacks and was a pretty good hitter. Porcello's had a whole lot less experience.
Ike Davis in way tight at first base, and I like it. We've got a pitcher up here. He's bunting. Put the pressure on him. You got first baseman has no responsibilities. You don't worry about the back runner. Doesn't have to hold him on. Put the pressure on the pitcher to get that bunt down.
And Porcello takes a strike.
The Mets very seldom, Gare, put the wheel play on this year. Anyway, I haven't seen it. I can't remember the last time I saw him put a wheel on. For a wheel play, folks, that's when the third baseman. So I'm sorry, the shortstop covers third.
Yeah, the third baseman charges. Of course, most teams have their third baseman flash the signals for the bunt defense, and Justin Turner has only played a handful of games at third base this year.
Well, it's usually your captain on the infield. And of course, with the Mets, it's David Wright, so you might as well just stay with the third baseman. It has to be a corner infielder.
So it used to be you, is what you're saying.
Thank you.
Here's the 1-1, and Porcello swinging. G's got a chance for two. He's going to go to third, and they do not turn the double play. Well, we've seen this happen more than once this year. A pitcher getting confused in those circumstances. The double play is available by way of second, but G threw it to third, got a force there, but does not get the double play.
Well, nice hustle by Porcello. And why do you go to second base? Do the geometry here. Look at the much long. Now, it's a hesitation here by G because he's not sure.
And Murphy's telling him to throw to second.
Second base is a shorter throw. Well, actually, they're equidistant, but Turner has the longer throw from third base as opposed to a shortstop throwing from second base to first.
So the inning continues, and Austin Jackson, the batter. I mean, it's such a simple fundamental. Comebacker, you have the chance for the 1-6-3 double play. That's the way you're supposed to go.
You know, another point I want to make too. We'll have that overhead hopefully again.
Jackson lines one. Murphy's got it, and so G escapes trouble despite his mental mistake on the double play.
Now Turner, just to be brief here, this is the full fundies. His momentum's going back to the base. Now he's got a plant and throw, whereas Quintanilla is coming over in motion. His body coming forward for a strong throw to first base. End of clinic.
Nicely done. Tied the Mets in order in the first. They'll face Ike Davis, Justin Turner, and Juan Lagares in the home second. You know, Porcello, when he came out of Seton Hall Prep, committed to play college baseball at the University of North Carolina. Had he not signed with the Tigers, he and Matt Harvey would have been on the same pitching staff at UNC. you imagine that? Graduated high school the same year as Harvey. Ike Davis leads off for the Mets in the second. I got a good day at the plate yesterday. A single, a double, and a walk, and the double was really socked off the base of the right center field fence. So Ike's 2 for 7 in this series, and he takes up and away from Porcello.
Porcello's been up with his fastball, so I'm not seeing a sink. I'm seeing a flat run away from left-hand hitters.
And Ike breaks his bat and flares one to the shortstop Santiago, who has to reverse direction and make a nice play. And that's the first out.
Well, he overran this, and oops. He's an athlete. Nice recovery, nice play. And there's the 2 release points from the pitchers, both a little higher. 3/4 from Dillon and slightly higher release point coming from Porcello.
So 1 out and nobody on. Now Justin Turner. 24th game that Turner has started this year. He's been swinging the bat pretty well since coming back from the disabled list, up to 273 on the year. And Porcello comes inside.
There he is. Not quite as intimidating as the real guy.
Too many teeth.
I mean, Tom never had the shakes.
No, never. Made you shake. And Turner takes a strike, 1-1. Wilmer Flores getting the day off today. He's had that sore ankle, which Terry Collins said today will probably not be 100% before the end of the season. However, the plan is for Flores in the next few days to start playing some games at second base. That's want to get a look at Flores over there to see whether he can handle that position at the major league level and give him an idea of what he might be going forward as far as what position he can play. One thing we know for sure, he's not going to be a full-time third baseman with David Wright around for 7 more years.
No future there for him.
Porcello with a 2-2, and Turner bounces one foul. Well, the Mets were shut out yesterday, but in the 5th and 6th innings, they started to put together some better at bats against Max Scherzer. And Scherzer was in trouble in the 6th, and the Mets' best opportunity to get to him came in that 6th inning when they loaded the bases with 1 out, and Juan Lagares, who's on deck, came to bat. And it's kind of a troubling at bat to watch, as Lagares took a couple of fastballs down the middle and wound up striking out. We'll look at that in a moment. As Turner goes down on strikes for a strikeout for Porcello. Here's that at bat from yesterday in the 6th inning with Lagares.
Bases loaded, 1 out. Let's make sure of that. 2-0 ball game. Takes a fastball right down the pipe. Right down the pipe. Wasted slider. Up and in. Now, I don't know what went on with Lagares. Was he looking slider? Is he paying too much attention to the computer? What I saw of Scherzer yesterday, he's a fastball pitcher. You're going to get a fastball. Why in the world would you look for a slider? Or was he trying to go deep in the count? And that I don't know. And I really got to speak to. I got up. I couldn't sleep last night. And I saw the clock at 3 o'clock because I was going over and over in my mind that at bat. You know, it's an RBI situation. It's not a table setting at bat. It is a productive at bat, production at bat. And I know Juan is a young hitter, and I understand, and hopefully that'll go foul. When he came up, he was swinging a lot of bad pitches and chasing and wanting him to be more patient, teaching him to be more patient, trying to get deeper in the count, to try to get him, Gary, to not swing at the bad slider pitch identification, they call it today. To me, it's seeing the ball out of the hand and identifying the pitch, same thing. But there's a fine line between getting a hitter, taking away his aggressiveness. It's a very, very fine line. And I'm concerned that it happened with Duda, and it could happen to Lagares. And in an RBI situation, boy, you've got to be swinging the bat. You get a fastball to hit. You got to take your hacks at it. And I was very disturbed by that at bat. And if he's looking for a breaking ball, take that computer away from him. He's a young hitter. He hasn't been in the league a half a year. See the ball, hit it. What got you here in the first place?
So you're saying you'd prefer that he just look for fastball. If he gets it, hit it. If not, make the adjustment.
Now, not everybody can do it. There's 240 hitters in this world, and 230 and 220 hitters, and then there's the 280, 290, 300 hitters. I just always felt if I look for a breaking ball, then I can't hit a fastball. Then I am limiting myself to one pitch. If I'm going up the middle and looking fastball, it's a left-hander in my case, the breaking ball is going to break away from me, and I can adjust to it.
Garris hits it sharply, and he has a base hit. So the Mets have their first base runner of the day.
So not the, it's, I can handle two pitches, not limited to one. So I was disturbed by that. I didn't sleep well. I overslept this morning, and I kept a rush here. And I haven't been bothered by an at bat like all season long, like that one. And it's not. I'm not criticizing Lagares here, nor Dave Hudgens down there. I got to talk to Dave about it, see what he thought, what his thoughts were on that at bat. I just didn't get here in time. I got here in plenty of time, but not in time to get in that clubhouse. The clubhouse was closed.
Here's Travis d'Arnaud. Got the day off yesterday. And Porcello throws a fastball by him. d'Arnaud 1 for 15 to begin his major league career. Well, I think the whole subject is fascinating because we've talked about it so often this year that the philosophy of this organization is about high on base percentage and hitting home runs. That those are the triggers for scoring runs. And there's no question that that's true. But the question is, can you take hitters who are naturally aggressive and retrofit them to get them to be more patient? And what does that do to them in situations like that?
Can you get every offensive player in the major leagues and spit them out of the computer and have them all hit alike? I don't think so. Everybody's different. You're going to get Willie Mays and teach him to hit like that? The same way as, say, I'm not being contemporary here. I'm sorry. Matty Alou, who was a leadoff hitter. The 1 and 2 hitters, yes, I can see them going deep in count because they're the table setters. An 8th hitter to move the lineup over, get the pitcher up. I can see that. But your RBI bats, your 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 hitters, they're there to drive in runs, not walk.
Infante handles d'Arnaud's ground ball, and that'll do it for the Mets in the bottom of the second. A hit and 1 left on Tom Seaver bobblehead day. Hi, Tom. 2-0 Tigers. SportsCenter.com. Where is your favorite place to watch a Mets game? You'd rather be behind home plate, behind the dugout, in the bleachers. Well, we don't have bleachers here at Citi Field, but you know what I mean. Or on the couch watching with us. Text your answer to 56812 and let us know.
There's no free dinners, folks, if you vote D.
Can I just tell you something? My answer is not on that list. I want to be in the upper deck.
Upper deck. I have no desire to be.
Well, they
in the
said
upper
behind
deck.
home, so that counts for the upper deck. But you don't like being up that high.
No.
Torrey Hunter leads off in the 3rd inning. So when we go to Washington and we broadcast from the moon, you don't really enjoy that.
Well, I can tell you my experience at upper deck in Oakland Coliseum. Got home from the minor leagues. That was the year that Oakland just started turning the corner. The Oakland A's. And Baltimore swept them. Remember that series?
71 maybe?
Yes. And I wasn't home from minor leagues. It was 71. I was high school. I was just a junior. My brother and I got tickets at the last minute. And of course, they were the last row down the upper tank down the right field line. In fair territory, right by the flagpole. It was an experience. I got a great view of Reggie Jackson's back the whole game.
But have you ever sat in the upper deck behind home plate,
No.
other than the one game we broadcast from up there at
No.
Shea? That's kind of what it's like in Washington when we go there from that high position. G misses high to Hunter, 2-2.
And you know what? My brother and I were very happy to be in the ballpark.
That's exactly right. Miguel Cabrera on deck. Prince Fielder behind him. Tigers got a 2-run homer from Cabrera in the 1st. And G has not been right on top of his game. He made a mental mistake fielding in the 2nd inning, but was able to get out of it. And he comes up and into Hunter, 3-2. And G normally so precise with his command, and it's just not there early in this game.
Well, he's facing an upper echelon team. Stay within yourself. And G is unflappable. He's trying to figure it out. He shows no emotion. He's focused. He's trying to figure it out right now. I've always liked him. He's a quality pitcher. Yes.
Strike 3 called. Hunter caught looking. First strikeout of the day for Dylan.
Knees in black, outside corner. Good pitch. Back-to-back fastballs, folks, on a 3-2 count. Not afraid to throw his fastball. Now comes trouble. Oof. Look at
2 home runs in this series, 42 for the year, 128 RBIs.
Well, this is the difference in the game. High fastball. Out over the plate, inner half, and that was a bomb. Number 42.
After today, the Tigers have 32 more games remaining. So it's not beyond the realm of possibility. He could hit 50 home runs and drive in 150 runs this year.
Yep. Not beyond the realm of possibilities to win another Triple Crown back-to-back. I don't believe anybody's ever done that.
Only 2 players have ever won 2 in their career. Rogers Hornsby and Ted Williams.
Well, he's something else. A very imposing figure. 240 pounds. You can see right there. You wouldn't want to meet him in a dark alley and have him angry at you.
You might be able to run away from him right now. He's not running very well. Well, there are the Triple Crown numbers. He's got a 30-point lead over Trout in the batting race. Now just 4 behind Davis for home runs and 11 RBIs up in that category.
It's just the home runs that are the issue. He is in the best shape I've seen him, too. Remember, he was a little roly-poly.
G jams him this time and gets the ground ball to Turner, and Cabrera not running at all. And that's been the case throughout this series. Every time he gets a ground ball, he just lightly jogs to first base.
Notice how you go inside, you can get him. All good hitters. He's got issues with his abdominals, right? An abdominal?
The abdominal, he's got the shin, he's got the knee, he's had a hip problem. He's had all sorts of ailments, but it doesn't seem to affect his swing at all.
All the more reason. Remember, he's in the American League, so you can DH him if he starts falling apart physically. But it's all behooves Cabrera, if he wants to go down in history as one of the greatest hitters of all time, to keep his weight down.
Here's Prince Fielder, who fouled out to the catcher his first time. Well, just by contrast, the Tigers putting up a very powerful lineup, and the Mets, especially without David Wright, just don't have that kind of firepower.
Well, we got a veteran ball club in the Tigers, and you've got a very young team with the Mets, a team in transition. Tigers are built to win.
By the way, do you think that Jim Leyland has purposely hidden behind that post this entire series? We have not gotten one clean look at Jim this entire 3 days. Now, there were some very interesting quotes from Leyland coming into this series, because, you know, in many ways he was Terry Collins' mentor. He gave him his first big league coaching job. And Leyland said, I never would have been able to handle managing in New York. He said, it's too fast for me. It's too much going on. He said he was saying this partly in praise of Terry and the great job that he's done. That's line the other way, a base hit for Fielder. But I thought that was interesting. You know, Leyland's been so successful in his career, won a World Series in Florida, having you know, a great run of it here in Detroit.
Well, I think he's being very gracious. He's a class act, Garrett, and I do feel that if New York was the only spot available for Leyland to manage, he would take the job, and guess what? He would be successful.
There was a time, you know, when Davey Johnson was the manager of the Mets and Leyland was in Pittsburgh, that there are certain factions within the Mets organization who very much wanted Jim Leyland to be the Mets manager. Never quite worked out that way. There's Victor Martinez, who grounded out his first time, but wouldn't that have been fascinating had that come to pass?
Yep. There's a lot of players I wish I could have played with. There's more than a few managers I wish I could have played for, and Leyland would be one of them. There's a lot of players I wish I never played with.
You're not naming names, are you?
There's a handful.
And Martinez grounds one on the right side. Murphy gets over to play it, and that retires the side. So G's settling in. Now let's see if the Mets can get some offense going against Rick Porcello. 2-0 Detroit in the third.
That's the Freedom Tower on the left going up. Beautiful downtown Manhattan.
New York, just as I pictured it.
Yep.
Skyscrapers, everything.
It's an amazing city. It really is. I loved living there the years that I played for the Mets. But I lived in Manhattan for 23 years. I just loved it.
Now you're just a country squire.
That's right.
Omar Quintanilla leads off in the home third for New York. Omar 1 for 6 in this series. And Rick Porcello misses high with the fastball. Dylan G on deck, and then Eric Young for the Mets in the third. So the Phillies are coming in tomorrow night. For 4 games, and they nearly played 4 games last night. They were entertaining the Diamondbacks last night. They wound up playing 18 innings, 7 hours and 6 minutes. The Phillies started Ethan Martin on the mound in that game. He got knocked out in the first inning. So think about that. You got your starter knocked out in the first, and you play 18 innings. And needless to say, the Phillies ran out of pitchers. Wound up using a couple of position players on the mound in the 18th, Casper Wells and John McDonald. In between them, they gave up 5 runs, and Arizona won the game.
No one was around to see it, probably.
Well, it ended at 2:12 this morning in Philadelphia. Quintanilla walks on 4 pitches, and the Mets have the leadoff man on. But one of the upshots of that game last night, the pitcher who was supposed to start for the Phillies today, Tyler Cloyd, wound up going in relief. And so today, Roy Halladay, who was supposed to pitch a rehab game in Double-A this afternoon, instead is pitching for the Phillies.
Right.
Back from the disabled list.
Emergency.
Phillies got 4 runs off Trevor Cahill in the first inning and lead 4-1 after 1.
Well, I remember when we'd always talk about long games, Gare, and G's there to. I would tell you, the Mets have been working with their pitchers pretty regularly about bunting. We have not been very good this year. But back to the long, lengthy games, I always think of the one in '74 with the Cardinals. I pinched hit in the 9th inning or the 8th inning off Harry Parker. Claude Osteen came in early from relief of the starter and went 9 innings of 3-hit shutout ball, and someone on the Mets side went 8 innings of shutout ball in relief.
That was Jerry Cram.
Yes, I think you're right. I knew you'd get it. I'm trying to set you up.
I was actually looking at something else. I was looking at the Phillies Diamondbacks game today, because I'm not sure that is Cahill pitching, because I thought he had worked in relief last night. It's actually Patrick Corbin pitching today.
That's not good.
And it's 1-2.
Boy, oh boy, this is I just looked down the third. I looked down the first base dugout and saw Terry Collins' reaction. He's not pleased.
I think G was trying to lay off that pitch and just got the bat in the way.
Keep the bunt on. Come on, 3rd time's the charm.
Well,
roll a 7 here, or 11.
Quintanilla at first and nobody out, and G bunts it toward first, and that'll get the job done. Fielder makes the play, and Quintanilla is on second. 6th sacrifice of the year for Dylan G.
If you had a first baseman over there and could move a little bit, that probably would have been a pop-up. But it's a successful sack.
There are certain things that the Tigers do extraordinarily well. Move swiftly on the infield corners is not one of them. Cabrera, statue at third, and Fielder only marginally better at first.
Oh, but they make it up with their bats. Fielder's got 88 RBI. He's going to drive in 100 runs this year. Cabrera's already out there somewhere in Neptune, Uranus, or Pluto.
Here's Eric Young, who grounded out to short his first time up. Quintanilla at second and 1 out. And Young takes the fastball in tight. Daniel Murphy waiting on deck. It's a good changeup by Porcello. 1-1.
Young has been a little bit tardy from, that was a changeup there, not in that particular swing, but from the left side, struggling a tad.
Ground ball for Infante. And he makes the play on Young for the second out as Quintanilla goes over to third. So 2 out, and Daniel Murphy will come to bat. Murphy hit the ball solidly his first time up, lined out to center field.
Murph's been kind of hovering at that 270 mark, in his 270s for a long time. Hasn't really caught fire. When he hasn't gotten the hot streak, he's long overdue.
And Murphy breaks his bat and punches one into center, and that'll get the Mets' first run in. At the cost of a bat, Murphy drives in a run, and the Tiger lead is cut to 2-1.
That sounded like balsa wood.
They make bats out of balsa wood these days?
Light bats that they use, yes, that's like balsa wood. That's why the bat should never break. The bats are way too light. That's a ping. But that's got an RBI in it. That's very sweet.
Hit number 144 for Murphy, who's 7th in the National League in base hits.
If a bat's got good wood, it should never crack in the barrel like that. Shave like it does, cuts down vertically.
So now Marlon Byrd grounded out his first time up.
But the hitters today, they love those light bats. And the rule is never go 2 ounces below the length of your bat. So if you're a 36-inch, let's just say a 35, you don't want to get anything lower than 33 ounces. So 33 ounces to me was heavy, Gary. So I didn't use. I always choked up. So I used, to get to 32.5, I used a 34.5-inch bat because I felt more comfortable with that 32 ounces, which was a light bat for my generation. And then I cupped the barrel because that takes another ½ ounce off.
Right.
And you got a bit of better wood. So whether my thinking's correct or not, my feeling was if I got my bat and I had it cupped and I wanted it 32.5 ounces, then I was getting 33-ounce wood, and the cup would come in after, so I was getting a ½ ounce better wood.
Of course, when you were playing, everybody used ash bats, and now maple is so prevalent. Right. I wonder whether that changes the equation.
It's not as pliable as white ash.
But in terms of the weight versus length issue, I wonder whether it changes with the material of the bat.
I do know that, was it the walnut they use now?
Some walnut, some maple. Yeah.
Maple, that's right. It's not as pliable, and they stopped letting us bone our bats and groove them to make the bat harder, because there were certain cheaters out there that grooved their bat, then sprinkled it with rosin. Cork on the groove, when you grooved along the grain. Thank you, Gary. You made an indentation of around, with a key, you can make an indentation of maybe around 1/8 of an inch. And you guys would sprinkle cork in there and then cover it with resin, and then flame temper it, and would give it a little more bounce.
Sounds like a lot of work.
I didn't do that.
Bird drives one to right center, but over comes Jackson. He misjudged it at first, but he circles in to get it, and that retires the side. But the Mets get a run on Murphy's 2-out broken bat hit. 2-1 Detroit. yesterday, and Terry implied that what he was seeing was that the wear and tear of the season was getting to Matt a little bit as he reaches innings limits he's never been at before, and Matt talked about that after the game yesterday.
I'm getting pretty tired, but so is everybody, and you have to work through it and have to deal with it, and it's a long season. You got to figure out how to get things done, and my performance the last couple starts has been pretty terrible, and got to work through it and get better.
Well, rule number one, as I said earlier, never tell the press you're tired. That is something that you keep secret, even if you are tired. You never reveal that to the press. Yes, it is a long season. I agree. And a lot of it, I think, maybe is that all these pitch counts on these pitchers, that why wouldn't they not be prepared for a full season in the beginning? Because they're not conditioned to. So I don't know about that aspect. I wish Ronnie was here to have his input. He'll be back tomorrow and we can revisit it. But it's just things you don't say openly.
That's one side of it, and the other part of it is that that Matt is going to fight as hard as he can to get through it, and they don't call August the dog days for no reason.
Right.
And, you usually think about position players fighting their way through August, particularly for a team that's not in a race, as Dirks goes down swinging, and that's the first down. But it's got to have an impact on pitchers as well, particularly pitchers who are pitching their first full season in the majors.
Well, like I said, not too long ago, pitchers came up ready to go to distance. So they're not today. Fine. Matt Harvey's a big, strong kid. I wonder sometimes if they work out too much during the season and they leave it in that weight room. And you've got to have something in the tank.
Infante gets the bunt down, but G is there to barehand it and throws him out. 2 away.
A starting pitcher is never going to get much sympathy for fatigue from an everyday player that's playing 150, 155 games. I played at St. Louis on AstroTurf when they had cutouts around the bases. I was in my 20s, and you get a little worn out, but you always got your second win. Always the 15th of August was kind of like the bellwether for me. It just all of a sudden I just felt rejuvenated, and then September comes, the weather starts cooling off, and boy, you're just ready to go. The last 6 weeks.
But whether it's a position player or a pitcher, when you are going through the full season for the first time, and no matter how conditioned you are coming from the minors, the minor league season ends Labor Day. You don't play September in the minor leagues. So how different is it playing that first full season when you get to the late part of August and into September?
Well, I can only speak for myself. Playing 128 games in the minor league, something like that, 125. I played my first full season every day. If anything, I felt Gary. In 74, I was called up. Didn't play every day the last 6 weeks. I got sent down in 75. 76, I spot played.
Santiago lines another base hit, so he's 2 for 2.
So what I'm saying is, if I'm supposed to be building stamina, I wasn't playing every day. So how am I building stamina for a full season? I didn't play every day until 77 my first year. I played 160 games or whatever. And I was fine. So we had weather in St. Louis. We had 100-degree temperatures on AstroTurf. It was so darn hot, Reggie Smith's rubber cleats melted on a day game one time. He had to call timeout in the middle of the game.
Here's Porcello, who grounded into a fielder's choice his first time, and he grounds this one down to Turner at third. And that'll do it for the Tigers in the top of the 4th. New York Mets baseball is brought to you by Chrysler. Take advantage of great summertime deals now at the Chrysler Summer Clearance Event. Save you 15% on car insurance. The Phillies are in tomorrow night for the first of 4. Then the Mets go to Washington, Atlanta, and Cleveland on their next road trip.
I will miss that trip. I'll pick you up in Cleveland.
You've been working for a pretty long stretch of games now.
Hey, I've got my second win.
Well, Ronnie will be back tomorrow night, so we'll have the triumvirate together.
So I have my middle daughter coming in on Wednesday night. She's going to spend Labor Day weekend with me, so I'm very thrilled about that. Melissa, all the way from San Diego.
Ike Davis leads off for the Mets in the home fourth. Ike broke his bat and hit a looper to short his first time up. Mets made a player move before yesterday's game. They sent Mike Baxter down to Las Vegas and recalled Lucas Duda, which I thought was an intriguing move coming before September 1st. By doing that and bringing Duda back, Duda had been on the disabled list, and then when he was ready to come off the DL, they had optioned him. And by leaving him in the minors for less than 20 days, they save an option year on him, which is a technicality but might matter down the road. But what it does is creates more of a logjam at first base, because Terry Collins, as good as said yesterday that he's not going to use Lucas in the outfield anymore. So what does Duda do? If he's here, you have to use him occasionally, and that cuts into Davis's playing time at first base.
It means may the competition begin.
Well, except we've talked about this, going into the offseason. I think you need to see Ike Davis play every day and see what you got here and make a decision, because they're going to have to decide when this year is over. I mean, Ike's becoming a rather expensive proposition in arbitration. Do they bring him back? Do they non-tender him? Do they go in a different direction?
Well, you don't know what's going on in the minds of the evaluators. Obviously, that's number one on top of the crown on top of his head is Sandy Alderson. He's the king. He's going to make the decision. He's the general manager. He's going to have help from his other people around him, the princes, the princelings, I should say. But ultimately, it is the general manager's choice.
Ike's on with a leadoff walk, second straight inning. Porcello's walked the leadoff batter. Not something he normally does. I just, so much of this year has been about figuring out who might be a part of the Mets' long-term solution. And we went into this season talking about Duda and Davis and Tejada as being 3 players who needed to show whether they could be cornerstone players, guys that you could have as part of a championship team down the road. Now, Tejada flamed out the first couple of months. They haven't brought him back, which I find a little curious. And so going into next year, who's the shortstop for this franchise? I don't think they really know. Same thing with Davis. They sent him down, but you're not playing him every day. So how do you know whether he's the guy going forward? Those are curious things to me. You got 5 weeks to go in the season. Don't you need to try and figure those things out before you go into the off season and figure out what your needs are? Whether you need to go get a shortstop, whether you need to go get a first baseman, or whether those answers are already here.
Well, in a perfect world, you can play both of them, but you're not going to put Duda back in the outfield because it was so glaring. The improvement and this is no criticism of Lucas. He is not an outfielder. He's a first baseman. Let's face it. And throwing him out in left field, and with the changes made and the team playing better.
Double play ball to Cabrera, and Infante with the turn, and they get the 5-4-3 double play.
And in fact, Terry Collins saying multiple times that we're catching the ball better, and we're pitching well, and we're catching the ball better. Now, Duda's a first baseman, but do you want to see them both? Do you put them out in left field? It's a problem. It's a dilemma.
I don't think they're going to put him in the outfield. I think they've made the decision that that's no longer a viable option. So I guess here's what it comes down to for me. Can you get Davis and Duda both enough at bats between now and the end of the season that you can figure out whether either, both, or neither are part of your team going forward?
Well, in the perfect world, Gary, one of them would be a right-hand hitter and you can platoon them, but they're both lefties. So I don't know what they're going to do. But whatever they do, whoever they play, it'll be a window of what the philosophy is and what the thinking is going on over there. And the front office.
Lagares hits a scolder off the glove of Cabrera, and Lagares is aboard for the second time. And Lagares will get credit for his second hit of the game. And Cabrera's a little slow getting up.
Oh, the ball came up on him. He's all right. He's just resting. Oh, he may. That's right. He's got the abdominal, and that is.
He's got the abdominal. He's got the hip. He's got the knee.
He's up. He's fine. Oh, he's a strong guy, isn't he?
So Lagares is 2 for 2. And now Travis d'Arnaud, who grounded out his first time up. Just to put a wrapper on that last conversation, the one place that the Mets will be able to play both Davis and Duda together is in Cleveland, because they've got the DH for those 3 games.
And that's the last of the interleague play for the Metropolitans. And they're coming into this game 10-6 against the American League.
They were 10-4. d'Arnaud hits one in the air to deep left center field. Back goes Jackson to the warning track. Right back at the wall. It's out of here! Travis d'Arnaud with his first major league home run. It's a 2-run shot to give the Mets the lead. His second big league hit is a 2-run homer to put the Mets in front. Number 1 for Travis d'Arnaud. And the fans are asking for a curtain call.
Well, here you go. Sinker down and in, and not a bad pitch.
First career curtain call for Travis d'Arnaud.
Congratulations. Been a struggle for Travis, even as Gary said, his second hit.
His first 2 big league RBIs, all coming on one big swing. And gets debriefed by Mets hitting coach Dave Hudgens after going long.
Down and in sinker. He got it. Very nice. I thought maybe he might have got under it a little bit, but he got enough. Oh, you remember that?
Make that apple rise. That's going to be an awfully good feeling for Travis.
Was that Al on camera too, doing that kind of that shot? Al, very good.
He very much got the artiste in him.
Very smooth on your pan to the right.
Quintanilla goes around on the 3rd strike, and that'll do it for the Mets in the home 4th, but the Mets grab the lead. Travis d'Arnaud with a 2-run homer, his first big league home run to put the Mets in front after 4. Mets have the lead for the first time as we go to the 5th inning. Travis d'Arnaud's 2-run homers put Dylan G in front. G gave up a 2-run homer to Miguel Cabrera in the first inning, has settled in since then. And d'Arnaud has that big monkey off his back, his first home run, his first 2 RBIs. And now he and G will face the Tigers lineup for the 3rd time through. Austin Jackson will lead off in the 5th. Well, the Mets had scored just 3 runs, 2 runs total in their previous 3 games, and they've put 3 on the board today. It feels like an avalanche. Jackson is 1 for 2, singled and scored in the first, and he takes a curveball from G for a strike.
It's incumbent on G now to hold the fort, particularly this inning. Your team scores, run a goose egg up.
He's got the top of the order with Jackson, Hunter, and Cabrera, and he leans Jackson back. 1 ball, 1 strike. Jammed him, and he fouls it off. 1-2. Fastball up and away. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Jackson now in his 4th year with the Tigers. Torrey Hunter on deck. Fouls off the slider.
You see G's reaction after that curveball. He threw a hanger right there. He lifted up his arm, throwing arm, and he just got under it. Didn't get on top.
In the air to left center. Long run over for Lagares, shading his eyes as he goes and puts it away. For more on Juan Lagares, let's check in with Kevin Burkhardt. Kevin?
Well, as he makes that catch, we've seen him play a spectacular center field, but how can he get better? The answer to that is really continuing to know the league and know where to position himself. Tom Goodwin is the guy who's in charge of positioning the outfield, not only pre-game meetings and things like that and a discussion before the game, but during the game you watch him. He'll get up on the top step and he'll communicate and tell guys to move back or move right or left, that type of thing. But Lagares is becoming more and more independent. Goodwin told me today he's really come a long way, and really the key, he said, now is it's about reading swings. Certainly knowing the league, but it's about reading swings. You go over the advance report, and that's obviously a big deal to see where we start. But there are times when, for example, I'll start a guy to the pull side, but sometimes by the end of the game or even by the end of the at-bat, he said Cabrera is a perfect example. Maybe I put him in the other gap. It changes, and Juan is getting better at kind of seeing that on his own and not relying on me. That is the next stage of his development. Eric Young Jr. told me the one thing he's done a great job of is spacing. So generally, as a left fielder, I'll trail him when he moves, but he's done a good job of knowing how much space is right between myself and Marlon, just kind of getting a feel for our speed and what ground we can all cover. Guys?
Well, it's been fun to watch, not just Lagares, who obviously is a Gold Glove caliber player, but that entire Mets outfield over the last two and a half months as they've played together every day. Torrey Hunter, who knows all about that, fouls one away.
Well, I like the thinking there that you teach them, and they are supposed to not be dependent on the coaching staff to start putting that in filing that in your back of your brain. Every hitter you should know how to play.
But I thought the part about adjusting to the swing within an at bat to see how a hitter is handling a specific pitcher. I mean, as an infielder, how much would you adjust based on watching the way a hitter is able to either get around on a pitcher or not, or any other quirks?
It's changed today because of the strikeout, but guys didn't like to strike out. And always with 2 strikes, I'd always shade to the opposite field a little bit more. For me, I'd play more in the hole if it was a left-hand hitter. that was the norm. Kind of shift the infield to the opposite field just a shade when a hitter was 0-2, 1-2. But there's so many more strikeouts today. So many more hitters swinging for the downs.
Eighth pitch of the at bat from G to Hunter. And he comes up and in with the fastball. What about adjustments based on pitch selection? Can you see signs from first base? Can you see signs from center field to know to adjust on an off-speed pitch to the pull side?
Well, the problem is this. The only guys that know what the pitch is the catcher, the pitcher, and the two middle infielders. I could never see in, or the third baseman. Outfielders are too far away to see signs. So I always wanted to know just one thing, and that was a off-speed pitch to a left-hand hitter. And Wally, a second baseman, would transmit it to me.
Check swing grounder. G bobbles it, but still has time. And he gets Hunter 2 out. Hunter never let go of that bat.
So if it was an off-speed pitch, when the pitcher started his windup, Wally would kind of say, would always have his glove in front of his face, and he would say Keith. And then as the pitcher, just as he released the ball, he didn't want to give it away to the hitter, you'd slide over towards the line. Wally would too, because that's the ball. They're more a left-hand hitter, more inclined to pull.
So Cabrera batting with 2 out and nobody on in a 1-run game, and a curveball to start him off.
Cabrera looked in right there.
Well, he got a pitch in that he turned on for a 2-run homer in the first inning. Then he got jammed and grounded out to third in the third. And Dillon keeping the ball away, 1-1.
Quintanilla can see the signs. Fastball away. I knew they were going to keep the ball away from Cabrera. You don't want to make a mistake and hit a home run here, but he's got the power to leave the yard, the opposite field. Let's see if Miguel here looks away and tries to drive the ball into the gap, the opposite gap. Change up. He exudes confidence, does he not, Gary?
Why wouldn't he? He's beaten the game. 2-2. Another changeup. And a full count to Cabrera with Fielder on deck. Three-two from G. And Cabrera watches outside, ball 4, borderline pitch. Cabrera gets the call. Second walk given up by G.
Just missed, and he had him. If this is a strike, watch Cabrera's butt flies out here. Oops, he couldn't have handled that pitch. He was done, toast, if it was a strike.
So he was selling out to the inside pitch there?
Or he might have been, you never know, he could be looking for something else. I think he was looking in. I think sometimes you get set up. I always liked a fastball with 2 strikes that was an outside corner fastball to a hitter. It's a better pitch than trying to backdoor.
So now Fielder, and he flies one out to center. Easy for Lagares. Looking through the sunglasses, he puts it away to retire the side. Lagares with a couple of putouts in that 5th inning. He has been a joy to watch all year long. Juan Lagares showing off the defense. A future Gold Glover for the Mets. But get to Citi Field this Tuesday for your Gary, Keith, and Ron bobblehead presented by SNY. The first 1,000 fans to purchase tickets to the game against the Phillies at Mets.com/GKR will receive the bobblehead. Go to Mets.com/GKR now for your tickets. How are we looking today?
You're looking more and more like Al Troutwig.
Well, I've always felt as though Al and I shared something. Dylan G pulls one just foul. Oh, Ronnie lost his head. Hold on. We got to retrieve Ronnie's head.
Off with his head.
Oh, wait a second. This is what happened when Keith tried to bobble it.
Off with his head.
What do you react with that?
No, was it the Queen of Hearts? Did I break it? There we go.
Okay.
There we go.
Ronnie is now resecured. Very nice. So that's it, folks.
Exciting.
We can't do any better than that.
I will sleep with this. I'll put it on my pillow next to me.
G strikes out. You won't sleep all night, you know. You're like the Princess and the Pea. One out in the home fifth, and now Eric Young as the Mets start the third time around the batting order against Rick Porcello. Young has been up twice and grounded out both times. Young drops down the bunt and it rolls foul. But a good idea by Eric. Let's give you the results of our Chevy text poll. Where do you like to watch from?
Oh, the couch. That's stunning.
That's a great endorsement of your entertainment skills, Keith.
Well, come on, folks. You got to get off the couch. Really? I didn't. I thought that would be last. That's always a nice spot, isn't it?
You sell a club?
Good food.
I like it out on the porch there.
Nice wine list.
The beautiful buffet.
It is.
There's something slightly troubling about the result of that text poll, you know. The powers that be might feel as though we're inhibiting ticket sales.
I know. I didn't think about that.
Of course, the people who are responding to that are people who are sitting on their couch at the moment. I mean, if you're in the ballpark, you're probably not responding to the text poll. So they're saying they're very comfortable right where they are.
It's a beautiful day. I think I'd have to tape the game and get out in the sun.
3-1 to Young.
You know, go to the beach or go out in the pool or lay in the backyard. What do you think, Al?
Al just got back from vacation, his 4th of the summer.
We missed Al. Nice pan to the right, Al.
Porcello behind on Young, 3-1. And Eric takes up and away, ball 4. So that's the third walk given up by Porcello, who's averaged just 2 walks per 9 innings this season. But he's gotten himself in trouble with walks. In his previous 23 starts this year, Porcello had walked 3 batters only once. And he's never walked more than 3 in a game.
No, it happened yesterday with Scherzer. He walked 4. He'd never walked 4 this year.
And yet he still pitched 6 scoreless innings.
Yeah, was it a win? You got him to walk 4 guys, though. Still threw a shutout.
Here's Daniel Murphy, who drove in the first Met run with a broken bat single in the third. 1 for 2 on the day. We'll see if Young tries to swipe one. On the verge of his 30th steal of the season. He's never stolen 30 in a year. I saw an interesting stat on Murphy today, and maybe you can help me make some sense of this. Daniel Murphy has made 65 outs on balls hit in the air to left field this year, which is by far the most of any hitter in the major leagues.
All right, I'll say one
So
thing.
fly balls to left field, 65 of them. Joey Votto is second with 55.
Let me clarify one thing, though. With that stat, what I would like to see is real fly balls. He's hit a lot of line drives in left field. So
Okay.
let's knock it down a bit. But still, Murph's been getting under the ball a little bit to left field. Kind of feeling sometimes. Hasn't been on top as he should. He should never. Murph should always focus on the top half of the ball like I did. Line drive hitters focus on hitting line drives. Hit a ball in the air, you get mad at yourself.
So the problem isn't that he's hitting the ball to left field. It's that you just don't think that he's hitting the top half of the ball to left field.
Right. Not. They've been pitching him pretty much away for quite some time now.
Porcello handles the comebacker. Santiago with the turn for the 1-6-3 double play. And that ends the inning. The Tigers turn their second double play of the day. Bobble Seaver. Shirt Seaver. Spectacular deals. Call ** Ford NY from your mobile device. Sixth inning, Dylan G working with a 3-2 lead. He gave up a 2-run homer to Miguel Cabrera in the first. Base runners in every inning, but no runs since. Victor Martinez leads off in the sixth inning for Detroit. G up to 85 pitches through 5, so he's probably got one more inning going. They don't like to push Dylan much past 100. Through 99 pitches in his last start in 7 2/3 at Minnesota. Martinez has been up twice, grounded out to second base both times. He'll lead off. Andy Dirks and Omar Infante behind Martinez.
What happened to the organ music? It disappeared. Let's bring it back. It's a lazy Sunday afternoon.
Well, often they have organ music.
The organ music was all this during BP. It was wonderful. It was absolutely just soothing to the brain.
Harkening back to the days of Jane Jarvis on the Thomas organ.
In St. Louis, it was Ernie Hayes, remember? Ernie Hayes on the organ.
They still have Nancy B. Heffley in Dodger Stadium.
My favorite organist in the National League when I played was the guy in, I can't remember his name, was the guy in San Diego. He was terrific.
Here's a strike, 2-1 to Martinez. I don't remember that.
We'll have David look it up. He was great. I think it was a Spanish name. He played jazzy music, snappy music. He was just really wonderful.
Martinez lines one the other way, and he's got himself a leadoff hit. That is hit number 6 off Dylan G. And so the tying run aboard with nobody out for Detroit. And here's Andy Dirks, the left fielder. Dirks has walked and struck out today, 0 for 1. Dirks has been the most of the time left fielder for the Tigers this year. This is his 86th start.
So he's left-handed, predominantly right-hand pitching. That's why.
They played Matt Tuiasosopo most of the time against left-hand pitchers. There goes Martinez, hit and run play, and Dirks pulls one foul.
How about Jimmy Leland?
Well, Martinez, who can't run a lick, on the move there as they played hit and run.
And certainly the element of surprise. There he is flashing a sign. I like that call. First pitch. Don't expect it. Make something happen. Always been a proponent of the hit and run. A lost art, unfortunately, in today's game.
And Dirks hits one out to right field pretty deep. Back goes Bird to the warning track at the wall. It's out of here. Andy Dirks puts the Tigers back in front with a 2-run homer for Dirks' 8th home run of the year, and the Tigers are back in front 4-3. Well, they played hit and run on the first pitch, and Dirks played hit it out of the ballpark on the second pitch.
How about that? Leland's glad he pulled it foul, not hit and run. This is a
second home run of the day for the Tigers, who hit 3 of them on Friday night. So after the Mets trailed 2-0, went in front 3-2, Dirks turns it around again.
Well, you see the breaking ball. It's down, but right down the middle. Right into the left-hander's wheelhouse. And you can see right there, that's wheelhouse. That's splitting the plate in half and down. Lefties love it down there.
20th home run Dylan G has allowed this year. He's in the top 10 in the league in home runs allowed. Infante hits the curveball weakly to the left side, cut off by Turner, and the quick throw gets by Davis, and Infante is safe. Pretty sure he would have been safe even had the throw been on target, and they will give Infante a base hit.
In the hole ranging. No. That's amazing that he beat that ball. Infante doesn't run that good.
Especially with the bad ankle he's been struggling through. Yesterday got thrown out at the plate by a wide margin trying to score from second on a base hit. But he got down the line pretty well there. So 3 straight hits for the Tigers to start the 6th inning. And now Ramon Santiago, the number 8 hitter. He's 2 for 2 today, filling in for Jose Iglesias at shortstop. And Rick Porcello is in the on-deck circle. The Tigers have bullpen action going, so there's no guarantee that Jim Leyland's going to allow Porcello to hit. But now they've got him a lead, and he's only thrown 70 pitches, so he probably will stay into bat. Santiago making just his 9th start at shortstop this year, as Jeremy Bonderman is up in the Tigers bullpen, former starting pitcher. Santiago playing because Iglesias was hit on the elbow by a pitch Friday night. Didn't play yesterday or today. And he pops this one up along the right field line. Murphy over and can't get to it. There is nothing good that happens when a ball is popped down that right field line near that short wall. Carlos Torres up in the Mets bullpen. And it's such a dangerous piece of this ballpark.
Well, the real tough pop-up is always Wrigley Field because you've got that mound down the right field line, and I've gone back for a few balls down my day where you can get hurt because all of a sudden you're running on flat, and if you're getting down there, you can't look down and see the mound or anticipate it, and all of a sudden you're running uphill. That was always a tough one. Candlestick Park was just so much space to cover, and windy, swirly.
I don't remember when you were playing. Were there any low fences like that you had to contend with?
St. Louis was low, but not a little higher. I mean, I mean, it always came about to your waist, right? Something below your waist you consider low? I mean, I think
something that's going to trip you up as opposed to that you can just hit and kind of bounce off.
I mean, anything waist and below is, to me, is a low fence.
Right. I mean, at Shea Stadium it was higher. It was about shoulder height, right?
Yeah, a lot of parks had the railing above. Wrigley did not. That would undercut you.
3-2 to Santiago. Infante runs, grounded right to Quintanilla. Has time to get to the bag and make the toss, but Ike can't pull it out of the dirt. So the Mets don't get the double play. Quintanilla did a terrific job to get to the bag, even with the runner going. The throw was not a strong one, but a one hopper that Ike probably should have had.
Well, oh, that's no slide right there. Did you see that?
And they've called him out for interference.
That's right.
And it is a double play.
That is the correct call. Absolutely. You got to slide. Can't do that. That's interference.
And they did make the call, so Santiago is out as well, and it does go in the books as a 6-6-3 double play because of the interference and no argument from the Tigers. So 2 out and nobody on. And now Porcello will stay in at bat and takes a strike. Porcello's 0 for 2, couple of ground balls. Now the 1-2. And Porcello lines a base hit. So Porcello in his 3rd at bat of the season has his 4th career hit and the 4th hit of the inning against Dylan G.
Which is a warning sign for Terry Collins, because now you're going to have Dylan, if you're running back out there in the 7th, it's going to be into the teeth of the order.
No, that's not going to happen.
Yep.
I mean, this is a long way for Dylan at 103 pitches. He's just trying to massage Dylan through this inning at this point. So now Austin Jackson comes up for the 4th time. He's 1 for 3 today. Got the pitcher at first, so Davis will play behind him. And Jackson fouls away the fastball.
We discovered the organ player in San Diego that I love.
Okay.
Dave mined it. There's Ardsma down there in the bullpen and Scott Rice. Danny Topaz at the organ. I remember. He was terrific. Good job, David.
Jackson takes that slider for a strike. 1-2. One-two from G, and it's lined into center field. Another base hit. It's 5 hits in the inning for the Tigers. Porcello pulls in at second. Jackson's 2nd hit of the day. So will Terry try to coax one more batter out of G, or will he pull the plug?
He's thinking. He's thinking. I think I'd run out there and give him a lift here.
Yeah, looks like he's going to stay with him. Torrey Hunter's coming up. Hunter's 0 for 3 today. Had a long turn at bat his last time up before grinding one back to G.
He's going to stay with him, and he just don't want this game slipping away.
Well, he's about to throw his 108th pitch, which will match his season high. 2 out and 2 on. Mets down a run in the 6th. And Hunter attacks the first one, grounds it down to Turner. He'll make the long throw right on target to end the inning. Well, G gives up the lead, but then minimizes the damage. Andy Dirks with a 2-run homer puts the Tigers back in front. His 8th home run of the year, and it's 4-3 Detroit as we go to the bottom of the 6th.
Dylan G done after 6 innings. After giving up the 2-run homer to Andy Dirks that puts the Tigers back in front. He gave up 10 hits today, tying a season high. And now Rick Porcello back in front of this game. Will face 3, 4, and 5 in the Mets order as we go to the bottom of the 6th. Bird, Davis, and Turner coming up. That's we're down 2-0. Got a Murphy RBI single in the 3rd and a 2-run homer from Travis d'Arnaud, his first major league home run in the 4th to go up 3-2. Dirks putting Detroit back in the lead, and now Bird leads off in the home 6th. Marlin is 0 for 2. He's grounded out and flied out. Mets have had just 4 hits against Porcello in the first 5 innings, and Marlin fouls away the first one. Porcello has uncharacteristically walked 3, but 2 of those 3 have been erased on double plays. Bird fouls back the fastball, 0-2.
They've been pitching Marlin, particularly yesterday, upstairs, up and in, crowding him.
Ike Davis to follow. Drive to left, and Dirks is right there. 1 out. So 1 out and nobody on. Now Ike Davis, who's 0 for 1. He walked his last time up. Porcello's been able to keep his pitch count down despite the 3 walks today. You would love to get deep into this game. Porcello in his 5th major league season. This is his 144th start. He's never thrown a complete game. In fact, he and yesterday's starter for the Tigers, Max Scherzer, have the most starts among all active pitchers who've never recorded a complete game. Scherzer started 159, Porcello now 144, and neither one of them has ever gone the distance. It's amazing when you think about it, right? The season that Scherzer's having, he's 19-1 now, and there are only 2 other pitchers who've ever begun a season 19-1. Rube Marquardt did it in 1912. In fact, Marquardt won 19 in a row. And then Roger Clemens started out 19-1. In fact, started out 20-1 in 2001. But the very concept of never going the distance en route to starting out a season 19-1 would have been so foreign to a guy like Marquardt, who pitched 100 years ago.
Right.
But I think about the season that Daisuke Matsuzaka had with the Red Sox back in 08 when he went 18-3, only threw 160 some innings. Grounded through the shift. Santiago able to get down and grab it, and he throws out Davis. Now Santiago shaded over just enough to make that play on Davis for the 2nd out.
Well, when you're a dead pull hitter, they can do this to you. This ball's hit hard. Nice play.
Funny thing is, they haven't consistently shifted against Ike in this series, but they did that time, and it paid off. So 2 out and nobody on. And now Justin Turner, who has struck out and grounded into a double play, 0 for 2. Turner getting the start at 3rd base today, giving Wilmer Flores the day off. And he takes the curveball outside. David Wright did his first running in the outfield yesterday en route to what he hopes will be a swift trip down to Port St. Lucie to start getting himself ready to return. But you have to figure David's at least 10 days to 2 weeks away, even at this point.
I would give him minimum a month. Minimum.
Well, he's been out 3 weeks already. So
1 more week. You don't want him re-injuring. There's going to be enough scar tissue in there.
Well, they've certainly gone slowly with David. Had a long period where he was not doing any kind of activity with the leg. They had him running in the pool for a while, taking ground balls but not making throws. Now he's running in the outfield, so it's step by step. There's a strike, 3-1 to Turner. But there's no question that this Mets offense looks very different without number 5 hitting third in the order. And that's a strike. Turner thought he had ball 4, but Jim Wolf gave Porcello the corner, 3-2.
He got the corner. It was whether it was low or not. Right? It could have been low. It's got plenty of play. I thought it might have been a tad low, but
apparently so did Justin.
get a chance for a base hit now. That's the way I look at it.
3-2 from Porcello, and it's hit sharply but right at Santiago. And so Porcello, after being given the lead, puts up a 1-2-3 inning. We're through 6 now at Citi Field. 4-3 Detroit, with Cabrera set to lead off. Brought to you by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% on car insurance. And for the 60% of you who would prefer to watch from your couch, this is what it looks like at Citi Field. Shea Bridge out in right center field, a beautiful place to promenade when you're getting a little antsy. Lots of food options, including the Acela Club, where you'll be very well taken care of on your visit to the ballpark. Bright sunny day, temperature around 80 degrees. Can't always guarantee perfect weather.
It's beautiful,
but it certainly has been on this homestand. David Arnsma will come on to pitch the 7th inning for New York.
Well, it's been a little rough slog for him as ERA has kind of climbed a little bit. Arnsma has been used an awful lot.
Pitched well in the opening game of this series. Went an inning and a third. No runs, no hits. He'll face the heart of the batting order in the 7th with Cabrera, Fielder, and Martinez. The Tigers on a pair of 2-run homers, one by Cabrera and one by Dirks, have a 4-3 lead. And Arnsma bounces the first one to Cabrera, 1-0. Dylan G went 6 innings, allowed 4 runs and 10 hits, walked 2, struck out 2, gave up 2 home runs through 108 pitches to match a season high. And so G is on the hook. Cabrera, a 2-run homer, a ground out and a walk today. And he swings through that fastball, 1-1.
Cabrera mad at himself right there. Cabrera's just looking to pull right now. I think with Cabrera, see this fastball away he's pulling off. I think he got one thing in the back of his mind, Gary.
Well, if he wants to win a triple crown, he has to hit home runs.
He's got 4. He's 4 behind the leader. That's my feeling right now with him.
And he hits this one toward the middle, and he's got a base hit.
How many base hits up the middle did this man get?
So Cabrera has his second hit of the day, and the Tigers have their 11th.
He's something else.
Well, Arnsma faces one batter, and now with the lefty fielder coming up, Terry Collins will make a move and bring Scott Rice into the game. This call to the bullpen is brought to you by your Tri-State BMW centers. Arnsma exits, Rice enters. 4-3 Detroit in the 7th. His 68th appearance of the year.
Well, since the All-Star break, he's been outstanding, only giving up 2 earned runs and 13 in the 3rd. Boy, it seems like he's pitched more innings than that.
Came into a big spot yesterday. Bases loaded, 2 out in the 7th. They got Torrey Hunter to hit into a fielder's choice. Prince Fielder comes on to face Rice with a man on base and nobody out. Let's check in with Kevin.
Fielder doesn't miss games, guys. 472 in a row he's played. Last time he missed September of 2010. Kids and he both got food poisoning. He said, I tried to avoid it. I missed the game. The second day I probably shouldn't play, but I gave the team what I got. Now, the bottom line is I don't like the feeling of my team playing, and I'm not. It's uneasy. It's like I left the iron on at home. I just don't like it. When I was younger, when they gave me days off, I always said when I got a little longer in the game, I would tell them that I was not taking off any longer. And it's all physical. I mean, excuse me, it's all mental. It's really what it comes down to. As that one goes foul, you know, he said physically you're going to be sore, you're going to be tired. Once you understand that, it makes it easier. It really is mental, but yeah, I don't want to be out of lineup. I hate the feeling of it. I want to play every single day, and he basically does, guys.
Well, 3 times he's played 162 games.
It is mind over matter. I agree 100%. Put yourself in the frame of mind, you can do it.
Drives this one foul. Well, you know, talk to David Wright about this, and David says my goal every year is to play 162. But I think that a lot of players, when they get older, they recognize the value of getting the occasional day off. And the question is, does it help you to, if you played, say, 155 rather than 162, does it keep you in any way better rested for the long run of the season? As Rice strikes out Fielder. Nice job by Scott. That's the first out of the inning.
Good slider. Well, the most important thing is always to give your everyday players, when you give them an off day, give them an off day when there's an off day after. So they have 48 hours off and only miss one game. That second day is crucial. So I think it's better. 155 games, anything over 150, Gary, is punching the clock.
Right, but I guess my question is, fielder's perspective is I never want to sit. 162 or bust. There's Victor Martinez with 1 out and 1 on, and he drives one out to right, and Bird has this one lined up. 2 out. Is there value in sitting out the 5 to 10 games a year, or are you just as well to play 162? In other words, if you play 155 or 150, do you feel more refreshed along the way, or might you just as well try and play every game?
My feeling always was I didn't need an off day the first 2.5 months of the season. April, what do I need an off day? There's plenty of off days in the schedule. May, I'm fine. June, I'm fine. You get into July and August, okay, if you want to give me a couple off days in those, the 2 off days in those 2 months, that's fine. But the last 6 weeks of the season, when you're on the whip, you're whipping into the stretch run, I don't need an off day.
Now, you twice played 161 games.
Yes.
In those seasons, did you feel more run down?
I don't recall. What seasons were they, Dave? I know one was in St. Louis. Both in St. Louis?
1979, when you won the MVP, you played 161 games.
In 77, so both in St. Louis on AstroTurf. I was a young guy. I was 25 years old in 79. I was 23 in 77. What did I need an off day for? I was a spring chicken.
I don't know. So you're saying that really a young player playing every day doesn't need an off day? Does it depend what position you play?
I don't know.
If you're a center fielder or a shortstop and you do more running in the course of a game?
I'd have to give that some thought. I've never really thought about that.
Well, Gary, Prince did say this. He said, hey, yeah, I understand it's mind over matter, but physically, is there anything you could do to help? He said, I do it all, stretching, massage, but none of it really works.
Andy Dirks tops one foul. Dirks hit the 2-run homer to gave the Tigers the lead in the 6th inning.
Certainly catching a catcher.
That's a whole different
Has anybody? I wonder what the record is.
Randy Hundley played 160, and that was playing day games in Chicago with no night games.
Yeah, and then going on the road and playing night games and coming home without an off day when you're 10 days on the road.
That's amazing.
Yes. That's Leo DeRocher.
1-2 from Rice to Dirks, and he just missed with the sinker. 2-2. I will say this: some things have changed since you played. You had the AstroTurf, which made it way worse in terms of that. But the schedule's gotten much worse in terms of travel.
Yep. You realize that one of the things I always will praise Marvin Miller.
Dirks hits a slow ground ball, and that'll do it for the inning.
There was no. He was the one that said that they'd negotiated you can't play more than 17 games in a row without an off day. Marvin did that.
Did he negotiate ice cream in the clubhouse too? Because that looks awfully good.
It sure does. Go for a swim.
Event. Rockies lead the Marlins despite a Justin Ruggiano home run. Marco Estrada's allowed just 1 hit over 6 for the Brewers today against Cincinnati.
Roy Halladay unexpectedly coming back from the DL. 5 good innings so far today for the Phillies. Mike Minor on the mound for the Braves, who have a 12-game lead despite losing their last 3. And later on tonight, Jake Peavy and the Red Sox are at Dodger Stadium against Chris Capuano and the Dodgers. Red Sox now percentage points behind the Rays for first place in the AL East. Rick Porcello has thrown just 84 pitches over 6 innings. He's got himself a 4-3 lead as we go to the bottom of the 7th.
Nice crowd today.
Well, it's Tom Seaver bobblehead day.
And it's a beautiful day for a ball game. It's like California weather. I can't recall ever in August in New York not having a hot, sultry day. This is like San Francisco.
It's been wonderful. Weather's been just terrific throughout this homestand. Mets have 4 more games coming up against the Phillies starting tomorrow night. It's been a lost year for the Phillies in so many ways, but they've been a bit rejuvenated since they made their managerial change. Ryan Sandberg taking over for Charlie Manuel, playing some younger guys. Cody Ashe, the third baseman, kind of struggled with the bat, but Darren Ruff, who they've played at first base in the outfield, 11 home runs and just 147 at bats.
He's the guy who hit all the home runs in the minor leagues.
So he looks like he may be a legit big league power hitter, and that's what they're trying to find out. Especially now, it looks like Ryan Howard's going to be out for the rest of the year.
You know, I'm beginning to think that Ryan Howard may never come back from that Achilles injury.
Mets down a run as they come to bat in the home 7th. Juan Lagares is 2 for 2 today. Twice has pulled the ball. And he's got Cabrera playing in again at third. Hit it off Cabrera's glove his last time up. And Porcello comes inside. 1-1. Travis d'Arnaud, who hit his first big league home run to give the Mets a lead in the 4th inning, is now on deck. Omar Quintanilla behind him. Mets have had just 4 hits this afternoon. Lagares with half of them. And the curveball from Porcello for a strike. 1-2.
That's a big bender right there from Porcello.
It's been a big difference in his game this year. He scrapped his slider to throw his curveball. Trying for his 10th win of the year today. He had won 5 straight before his last start. And he bounces that one. 2-2.
Well, we've got a week left in the month of August. Less than a week. It is the big push now for the teams that are fighting for a spot in postseason. This is where the chips. This is when the clutch players come out.
Tigers starting the day with a 6-game lead in the AL Central. And Lagares hits one off the end of the bat. Infante broke the wrong way, so he has to barehand it and throw him out. Infante broke to his left and then had to come back to his right, and that's why he barehanded that ball.
I don't think he had to barehand. That's not an easy play. Terrific.
Watch his first move here. Goes the wrong way.
Very nice, sure-handed. Well, Infante's a good player. He's a good journeyman, solid player, knows how to play the game. We've seen enough of him in a Marlin uniform.
So a nice recovery for the first out. And now d'Arnaud, who hit one into the Party City deck for a 2-run homer in the 4th inning, his first major league home run.
His first 2 RBIs of the year.
Play of the game brought to you by Mazda. It's not worth driving. It's not worth building.
Down and in sinker. You'll remember that one.
The young lady in the Piazza shirt got possession of the ball, and I imagine a trade has already been negotiated.
Yes. I didn't get my first home run ball. Hit mine at Dodger Stadium.
Doug Rao.
Doug Rao, left-hander. Up and in fastball, bomb, line drive bomb, right center field. I never got my ball.
Did anybody try to negotiate?
No, it didn't happen back then. That was back in the days when you couldn't even give the fans a ball on a pop-up. That, you know, I got with Dick Stello. I'll never forget it. The late Dick Stello.
Umpire.
Umping first base in St. Louis, and I was a 20-year-old kid, and a ground ball a pop-up that I didn't get to, and I just happened to grab it, and I gave it to a little kid. And he just said, "I'm just going to tell you it's a $100 fine." I go, "You're kidding." I go, "You're kidding me." He goes, "No, that's the rule. It's the $100 fine." I said, "Okay." That's
d'Arnaud hits this one to center field and deep. Back goes Jackson to the track, and he runs it down.
d'Arnaud trying to make it 2 home runs in a row. Hit it 400 feet, but not far enough.
Dead central, but I like the way he's swinging the bat. A little better now. Getting more comfortable, Gare, in the big leagues here. Came back inside. Big part of the ballpark, right by that Gulf sign.
So that's 6 in a row retired by Porcello. 2 out and nobody on for Omar Quintanilla, who has walked and struck out today, 0 for 1.
And he hooks one down the right field line, just foul.
Andrew Brown has come out on deck to pinch hit if Quintanilla can keep the inning going. Mets do have a left-handed bat on their bench. That's Lucas Duda, just back from the minor leagues yesterday. But it's Brown on deck to pinch hit. Quintanilla thinking about trying to bunt his way on. 1-1.
There's
Lucas.
Yeah.
His last big league appearance was June the 21st. He hurt his oblique that day in Philadelphia and got sent to the disabled list. Figured he'd be back in a couple of weeks, but it just didn't work out that way. By the time he was ready to return, Eric Young had established himself in Duda's stead in left field. The Mets were playing well, and Duda, when he was healthy enough to play, was optioned to AAA and just called back yesterday. One-two to Quintanilla, taken low. And you know, they always tell you can't lose your position because of an injury, but the reality is it happens.
Wally Pipp wasn't an injury.
Well, he had a headache.
Well, he got sick, yeah.
Lucas was swinging the bat well enough at Vegas to earn the promotion. Mike Baxter was sent down.
And Porcello strikes out Quintanilla to end the inning. So Porcello getting better and better. That's his 4th strikeout. We played 7 now at Citi Field.
Tigers 4, Mets 3. Visit your local Chevy dealer at ChevyOffers.com. 8th inning at Citi Field. Carlos Torres will come on to pitch, the 4th Met pitcher of the afternoon. Torres pitched in the opening game of the series on Friday night and gave up a home run to Austin Jackson in 2 innings of work. Torres was slated to start that game Friday night until the Mets acquired Daisuke Matsuzaka and slotted him right into that spot of the rotation. And Daisuke will be in the rotation, at least that's the plan, for the rest of the season. Rick Porcello looks like he's done after 7 innings of work and 99 pitches. Has himself a lead, and Bruce Rondon getting ready to pitch the 8th inning for the Tigers. Porcello due up 3rd in this inning, so Jim Leyland will in all likelihood bat for Porcello. Omar Infante leads off for the Tigers in the 8th. Infante had an infield hit his last time up, 1 for 3 on the day. Dylan G went the first 6 for the Mets, allowed 4 runs and 10 hits. David Ardsma gave up a hit to the only man he faced, but Scott Rice retired 3 in a row. Infante hits one straight up. And Turner loudly makes the call and the catch.
Let's take a listen here. Nice.
Both Turner and Darno fortunate that neither one tripped over Darno's helmet that landed in the grass. So now Ramon Santiago, who's 2 for 3 today, grounded into a double play his last time and bluffs a bunt, takes a curveball for a strike. Brian Pena, the Tiger catcher, waiting on deck. Tigers have played their entire series without their #1 catcher, Alex Avila, who's on the concussion disabled list. He was supposed to be back by now. That one's nubbed down to 3rd, and Turner with a quick throw gets Santiago for the 2nd out. But Avila played a rehab game and had to come out of it because he was dizzy, so he's been set back. There are the standings in the American League Central. The Tigers 6 up on the Indians. The Royals have faded away, losing 7 in a row. And so it's become just a 2-team race now.
Now the Royals, when they came in here, they didn't impress me too much. So I'm not surprised that they have faded.
They were certainly hot for about 3 weeks there to keep themselves in it. Now they're barely in the wild card race, 8 games out there. Here's Pena, who played yesterday, went 1 for 4. And the switch hitter takes a strike. And a little number back to Torres, and he's got himself a 5-pitch inning. So the Tigers are quickly done in the top of the 8th. Rick Porcello is done. The Tigers will go to the bullpen as the Mets come to bat. Tigers will go to their bullpen and bring in 22-year-old Bruce Rondon.
Well, you see Rondon's numbers. 24 games, 24 innings. So he's about an inning an appearance. And guess who he's going to face?
Lucas Duda will pinch hit, leading off in the bottom of the 8th. This will be Duda's first plate appearance as a Met in more than 2 months. Lucas was sent down after coming back from the abdominal injury. Hitting .235 in the majors this year, but with a .353 on base percentage, 11 home runs in 226 at bats. And in a 1-run game, he'll come up to bat here. It was interesting in the last inning when the Mets had Quintanilla up and the pitcher spot on deck. Terry did not have Duda out to pinch hit, and I'm thinking that's because he felt as though they'd bring in the lefty to face him, and he wanted to make sure that Duda got a plate appearance against a right-hander.
And down a run, one swing could tie the ball game.
So he'll get that opportunity here against Rondon, the very hard thrower. And the first pitch up and away for ball 1 at 98 miles an hour.
Very nice.
What is this, Arizona?
Was it Florida?
That's where they usually have those misters.
What's going on?
Not even particularly hot today. It's a little shocking to see that Duda had 62 at bats in the minor leagues in Las Vegas, and in a league that is very friendly to the home run. He didn't hit a single home run. In fact, only 3 extra base hits in those 62 at bats. But he did hit .306 for Vegas. And he fouls off the fastball, 2-1.
It's a big rip right there, 2-0. Glad to see it.
Eric Young on deck, then Daniel Murphy for the Mets in the home 8th. Since the Mets put up a 9 spot in Arizona early on that last road trip, this is their 13th game, and in the 13 games they've scored 38 runs, less than 3 per game. Outside 3-1. So offense has been very hard for the Mets to come by. Jose Alvarez is up in the Detroit bullpen. Troy Hawkins getting ready for the Mets. Rondon behind on Duda, 3-1. And Lucas checks the swing. He went around, 3-2.
I thought it was a strike anyway. Pretty good 3-1 fastball, knee high outside corner, one to take. That's the pitcher's pitch right there. And that's not the one you want to swing at when you're trying to one swing hit a home run to tie it.
Rondon ready for the 3-2. And Duda takes it outside, ball 4. So Duda comes up as a pinch hitter, draws a leadoff walk. And the Mets have the tying run aboard. Coming this fall to Pix 11, the legend returns to late night. Arsenio Hall is back, and he's bringing the party with him. Don't miss the Arsenio Hall show weeknights at 11 starting September 9th right here on Pix 11. So now Eric Young. Let's see how Terry Collins chooses to play it. You try and bunt that tying run into scoring position. Cabrera expects it. He's in on the grass. Eric's 0 for 2 and a walk today. And he fouls off the bunt attempt. 0-1. Daniel Murphy on deck. Sacrifice bunting has not been a forte for this team. Young has 5 sacrifices this year, but 4 of them came in a Rockies uniform. Gives himself up. Gets the bunt down. Martinez mishandles it, has to go to first. He was all set to go to second. But once he couldn't get the handle initially, he had to adjust his sights.
Well, he had him at second. If he gets it cleanly, he gets the lead runner. He had him dead to rights. Duda doesn't run that grand. He had him.
So it goes as a sacrifice, a fortunate one for Young. 2-4.
Well, there's that infield defense again, and you see the shortstop Ramon Santiago giving Murphy all that hole between third and short.
Tying run in scoring position with one out, and Rondon continues to miss away.
3/4, a little more over the top. This is a guy that runs that fastball away from left-hand hitters, and Santiago too much up the middle. Duda is not a threat to steal a base. Look at that hole between third and short. Now, I agree where Cabrera's playing. You could just put that ball right there.
Ball and a strike to Murphy. Marlon Byrd waiting on deck. Murphy drove in the first Met run with a base hit in the third. His 58th run batted in. Trying to pick up Duda from second. 4-3 Detroit, 8th inning. And it's up and away.
Rondon is having a tough time. He just got to get more on top. He's the type of pitcher that has a hard time throwing inside to left-hand hitters. So if you get 6-5 pitches against him, I guarantee you at least 3 of them are going to be away. Just sit on that outside corner.
Now the 2-1. And Murphy lifts it to center. Easy for Jackson. And that's the second out. So Duda has to hold, and now Marlon Byrd will come up with 2 out.
Big old locomotive, isn't he? Look at those legs.
Well, the plan in spring training for the Tigers was for Rondon to be their closer this year at 22 years of age. It didn't work out. He didn't have a good spring, so they've had to mess around with that closer spot all year. They finally settled on Joaquin Benoit, who has been very, very good. Al Albuquerque, the right-hander, Jose Alvarez, the left-hander, up here in the 8th inning behind Rondon. As now he takes on Marlon Byrd, who's 0 for 3, lined out to left his last time up. Marlon leads the Mets with 71 RBIs, looking to pick up Duda from second with 2 out. And it gets away from Martinez, and over to third goes Duda. A wild pitch charge to Rondon, and now the tying run is on third.
Wild pitch from Rondon, but look at the fundies. Oh boy, behind the plate. That's like, oops, I don't want to get hit. Turned his head, everything wrong.
Well, that's a guy catching his second game in 2 years.
Yep.
And that's part of the risky run by shoehorning Martinez's bat into the lineup.
Like, I don't want to get hit in the head. I'll turn my head. I'll turn my back. I've never seen a catcher do that.
Well, if he does it again, the game might be tied. One and 0 to Marlon. And Byrd swings at the slider and misses. 1-1.
Gosh, good slider right there. Not a strike. Can't blame Marlon. Looking for fastball first pitch. Okay, it's only 1 strike. Let me go to hitting now. Let me go bearing down here. Line drive up the middle. Tie this ball game.
And that last pitch mishandled by Martinez. So Duda's got to be alert at third base, with Martinez struggling to catch Rondon. Another slider. 1-2.
2 bad ones off the plate. Does he throw him a third?
Why wouldn't he?
You can go up and in, but it's kind of predictable here. Back to the well.
1-2. Struck him out. 3 sliders get Marlon Byrd, and Rondon works himself out of 8th inning trouble. We go to the 9th at Citi Field, 4-3 Detroit.
Down. It's always an idea for the manager to use his closer in the 9th. Nice year the seasoned veteran Hawkins is having.
Hasn't pitched since Wednesday against the Braves when he worked a 1-2-3 inning. And so he'll get an inning of work here against the top of the Tigers batting order, trying to keep it a 1-run game and give the Mets a chance in the bottom of the 9th, presumably against Joaquin Benoit, who's been so good as the Detroit closer. So Hawkins will be the 5th Met pitcher of the afternoon. Dylan G went 6 innings, allowed 4 runs and 10 hits. He's on the hook. David Arzma faced 1 batter. Scott Rice retired his 3 hitters, and then Carlos Torres worked a perfect 8th. It'll be Austin Jackson, Torrey Hunter, and Miguel Cabrera to bat against the Mets in the 9th. Tomorrow night, the Mets will be facing Cliff Lee, no easy customer. Whereas the Phillies come in for the first of 4.
And it's the big leagues, Gare.
Yes, it is. Well, the best the Mets can hope for is that the Phillies play another 18-inning game today, blow out their entire bullpen.
And that's not going to happen.
They got a big lead. Roy Halladay came back from the disabled list unexpectedly because of that 18-inning game and pitched 6 good innings today, and the Phillies lead 9-2 over Arizona in the 7th. So here's Jackson, who's 2 for 4 on the day, and he takes a fastball for a strike. Jackson now has a 7-game hitting streak, so he has gotten very hot at the top of that Detroit batting order, as if they needed more weapons working in sync. They had 15 hits last night, 11 more today, and a sharp ground ball right to the shortstop. Quintanilla takes his time and throws out Jackson, 1 away.
Both St. Louis and Cincinnati losing today late in the ball game. St. Louis getting shut out 3-0 in the bottom of the 6th.
That's Mike Minor for the Braves today.
And the Reds in the bottom of the 8th are losing 3-0 too.
It was Marco Estrada starting for Milwaukee, pitching a gem today.
And the Pirates are later today in San Francisco.
Pittsburgh and St. Louis tied for the lead in the Central, with the Reds 2.5 back.
What a nice race in that Central.
Torrey Hunter smacks one toward the middle, a base hit. So Hunter, who had been 0 for 4 to that point, has his first hit of the afternoon, and the 12th for the Tigers.
Noel Hawkins, almost like a stretch, isn't it? Very interesting. Big leg kick. Driving off that back. Look at the long legs. Big stride. Interesting how his foot wasn't pointing towards home. He had to kind of pivot off that.
Now he'll face Cabrera, who's 2 for 3 and a walk today. 6 for 12 with 2 home runs in the series. And Hawkins keeps the slider away for ball 1.
Well, that's the plan. I would think for what I've seen of Cabrera, if I was scouting, I would say keep the ball away from him. Show him inside bat off the plate where he can't swing at it, just to show him, but just keep the ball away.
Cabrera has 3 hits and 5 career at bats against LaTroy. So Hawkins knows to be wary. He's done no better against the guy on deck, Prince Fielder. As Cabrera takes that one the other way and fouls it 1-1.
That's the first swing Cabrera's taken in this series with the idea of going the other way. You see his eyes? He was looking to go that way. That was his intent.
He can hit home runs that way. We've seen plenty of that.
So he's no dummy up there. There's a reason why he's hitting 350. He's got 2 batting crowns and ready to get what would be the word? Coronated. Excuse me.
I didn't know what you were going for. By the way, Miguel would like to let you know that he's not hitting 350. He's hitting 358.
Okay. To be exact.
Well, you never would have wanted to cheat out of 8 points.
Is that no? There's no such recoronation. No.
Sure, why not? It's like renewing your vows. 1-1 to Cabrera, and he fouls back the fastball.
Good. See, Hawkins is no dummy. Come up and in right there. And long live the king. Good pitch. Tied him up. You're going to go in there. You better get it in there. 2 Met pitchers did not, and they paid the fiddler.
Daisuke on Friday night. G earlier today. Cabrera hit a 2-run homer off G in the first inning to get the Tigers off to a fast start. 1-2 from Hawkins. Fouled that one off at 96 miles an hour. It's about as hard a pitch as we've seen LaTroy throw this year.
The intent was away. You saw Darno set up outside, but Hawkins missed up and in. So it's back-to-back inside pitches. Now remember, as a hitter, you don't know if you're thinking that that's intentional. Boy, he's thrown me twice inside. Because you can't see what the intent is because you can't peek. Well, you're not supposed to.
Get you hurt if you do.
You can. Away. Well, the Phillies always thought that I peaked, and I did on occasion. Shane Raleigh undressed me one time, the left-hander in Philadelphia. I felt and I wasn't peaking. He just put one under my chin, and I felt the wind under my chin. If it had been an inch or 2 inches higher, it had my jaw.
1-2. And Cabrera has to back away. Well, that's nice to see. It's the first time he's had to move his feet in this series.
Oh, great shot. See the intent on his face? He was driving in, 2-strike hitting, looking for a fastball, protecting the plate. That was sweet. That was a great look. And he'll have the same approach this pitch also.
Two. Fouled off that fastball.
So he's fighting off every pitch inside to stay in the at-bat. And if you make a mistake and leave it out over the plate, he'll put a hurting on you. Another fastball in. I agree with the pitch. This is a nice battle.
Wait a second. What's Prince doing in the stand?
Yes.
No, he's on deck. This will be the 8th pitch of the at-bat to Cabrera. Toward the hole, a base hit. And you just can't get him out.
Well,
third hit of the day for Cabrera.
Change up. I kind of think that's Hawkins' third. He clapped his hand. See, there's a change up. I don't agree with the pitch. He's just so good. Why don't I agree with that pitch? Because you saw I was pointing out how with 2 strikes he was going up the middle. So he's going to be prepared for an off-speed pitch. A straight change like that.
Miguel would like you to know that he's now hitting 360.
Miguel, do not send me to prison or to slave labor camp, please. I apologize.
Here's Prince Fielder with 2 aboard and 1 out. So Hawkins trying hard to keep this a 1-run game, but now facing another nemesis in Fielder. Here are the separated at birth twins.
Yeah, you're on TV.
Fielder 3 for 4 in his career against Hawkins.
He muscles that one over shortstop. It's going to fall for a base hit. Hunter to third. He'll stop there.
And the Tigers have the bases loaded.
Inside out. 1 out. Hunter's going to play a little safety first. Got a late read on it. But you don't want to get doubled up. 1-run ball game. Now you got the bases loaded. Completely jammed them. Oh my goodness.
Doing his Fisk imitation.
Oh, he knew what he was doing. He wanted the RBI. He wanted the ribeye steak.
So now the bases are loaded with 1 out, and here's Victor Martinez, who's 1 for 4 on the day, singled and scored a run in the 6th. Martinez 1 for 4 in his career against Hawkins. So Cabrera and Fielder both with long resumes now against LaTroy, and he's had trouble getting either one of them out. Now looking for the ground ball from Martinez to try and get himself out of the inning. He fouls back. The first pitch, 0-1. Hunter at third, Cabrera at second, Fielder at first, Martinez at the plate. That's quite a 2 through 5 in your batting order. The reason why the Tigers are the highest scoring team in the major leagues.
All stars, all of them.
That's the row that Hawkins is trying to hoe. Line base hit into right field. 4 straight hits. Hunter will come in to score. Cabrera walks into third. Martinez with an RBI single, and the Tigers getting an insurance run and lead 5-3 in the ninth.
And they're still in a position to blow it wide open. Another soft base hit. Backdoor slider stayed in. Oh well. That's a line drive in the paper tomorrow.
Martinez will come out. Holiday will pinch run, and he'll stay in to catch. There's Brian Holiday, the rookie. He's been filling in with Avila on the disabled list. So now the base is still loaded for Andy Dirks, who hit a 2-run homer in the 6th inning to give the Tigers the lead. And Dirks takes up and away for ball 1.
Well, the Tigers are just relentless.
Four straight singles to produce a run here in the ninth. The Tigers had 15 hits yesterday. They have 15 more hits today. And now Hawkins behind on Dirks 2-0. Cabrera now at third, Fielder at second, and Holiday the pinch runner at first. It would take a pretty good fly ball to get Cabrera in from third the way he's running right now.
So as a hitter, to make sure you do it. That RBI right there, that's a cheap RBI.
And Dirks fouls off the fastball, 2-1.
They're never cheap.
Well, it would be a lot cheaper if you had a fast man to third.
It's still an RBI you should get. You can handle the bat, but you know what? You don't want to. You want to be always thinking positive. You want to get a base hit and really break the game open, or a double and really break it open. But a sac fly also does it too.
And the The Mets went to Detroit 2 years ago. Dirks had a big series. He had 3 home runs against the Mets in that series. Another one today. So he's got 4 home runs against the Mets. That's more than he has against any other team. And he's an American League player.
Really?
And he has more home runs against the Mets than he has against any other opponent.
Gary, you're just a wealth of information. It never cease to amaze me.
I try to keep you amazed. 2-2, and Dirks fouls it straight down.
It is an interesting. It's unbelievable.
It's quirky.
Yes.
Quirky Dirks.
Oh, boy, I got to stand up and stretch here. The bones are getting old. Oh.
We'll patch you together. Don't worry. Again, the 2-2 to Dirks. And he comes up and in. 3-2. Now, no place to put him. Omar Infante, the on deck batter. Well, Hawkins brought into the non-save situation and having trouble here in the ninth. He's given up 4 straight hits, and now he's 3-2 on Dirks. Andy Dirks, 27 years old, out of Wichita State. 8th round pick back in 08 by the Tigers.
They got a nice baseball program. The Shockers.
Mike Pelfrey. Here's the 3-2, and he walked him to force in a run. So Dirks has his 3rd RBI of the day, and Cabrera can trot on in. And now it's 6-3 Detroit. And that's going to be all for Hawkins. Terry Collins wanted to get an inning of work. He did not want this kind of inning. The Mets will make a double switch. Andrew Brown will come in to play right field, and Scott Atchison will come on to pitch. The call to the bullpen is brought to you by your Tri-State BMW centers. 6-3 Detroit in the ninth. He'll bat 9th, and Scott Atchison will pitch and bat 3rd.
Well, there's Scott's number. I think he's had a heck of a year for the Mets. He had some injuries. Got that precarious elbow issue.
Not a good outing for LaTroy Hawkins. Gave up 4 straight hits and a walk to produce 2 runs, and he's responsible for 3 more. Atchison came on to get an out in the 9th inning yesterday. He retired Torrey Hunter. Here he'll face Omar Infante with the bases loaded and still only 1 out. 2 runs home for the Tigers here in the 9th. Infante 1 for 4 on the day, And he fouls off the first offering from Atchison.
You know, a lot of clubs improve themselves with the Marlins jettisoning all their players.
Well, the Tigers, when they made the deal last summer to get Infante and Anibal Sanchez, certainly improved their team. Sanchez had a great year. Infante lines one into left center. That'll fall for a base hit. Fielder comes in to score. Holiday's being waved and then stopped as the throw comes in from Young.
Well, Holiday just had a horrific read on that ball. He's got to score here. That is just. Who's going to catch that? That's not a good base running. Nope, he's running back. I don't know what he's thinking. So he didn't even read. He ran back. I don't understand what he was thinking about.
6 straight Tigers have reached base. 3 have scored. It's now 7-3. There's Dave Dombrowski, the architect of this Tiger team, president and general manager of the Tigers. Every reason to be proud of what he's got going on here. Here's Ramon Santiago. Takes a curveball for a strike. Santiago 2 for 4 today. So Detroit with 3 in the 9th has broken it open, and they've still got plenty more to work with here with the bases loaded and still only 1 out. Pitcher's spot due up next. Santiago fouls it off. Matt Tuiasosopo, a former Met farmhand, is on deck to pinch hit. Meanwhile, Joaquin Benoit only looking as Jeremy Bonderman will now get restarted in the Tigers bullpen with this big lead. Jim Leyland will stay away from his closer if he can. The question is, can Bonderman get loose in time? The guy who's usually a starter or long man. He was up early in the game. And that goes to the backstop, comes back to Darno, but not quickly enough, and Holiday comes in to score. And that makes it 8-3 on the wild pitch by Atchison.
You think it's a wild pitch?
That's the way he scored it.
Yeah, it is.
Could have gone the other way, but
no,
kind of sailed.
This is just, inning is blown up. And we're not going to see Benoit now.
Four runs home in the inning, all of them charged to Hawkins, who's still responsible for 1 more. Dirks at third, Infante at second. And so he'll have to bring the infield in now. But the horse has already left the barn. Santiago fouls it off.
The ship has sailed.
You never find the horse, and you can never get aboard the ship. Now the 1-2, and Santiago takes it high. 2-2. Well, Milwaukee beat Cincinnati 3-1 to take the finale of that series. Beyond Marco Estrada, so the Reds for the moment 3 games behind Pittsburgh and St. Louis. Lined it to right, another base hit. That'll bring in Dirks. Infante will stop at third. So now it's a 5-run inning for the Tigers as Santiago has his 3rd hit of the day, and that makes it 9-3 Detroit. 17 Tiger hits.
Slider not in enough, and a bullpen that's been very good, and they're entitled to their bad day. Well, they've had a bad inning.
Monte stopping at third base. So 5 runs, all of them charged to Hawkins. That'll blow up your ERA. 5 runs in a third of an inning.
Well, that's right. It closes the book on him.
Now it's Tuiasosopo, who started in left field yesterday and went 2 for 4.
No one feels worse than Scott Atchison. You give up someone else's runs.
And he hits one right past the originator and into center field. And that brings in Infante. 8 straight Tigers have reached base. 6 have scored, and now it's 10-3 Detroit. And the agony just increases for the Mets bullpen.
Up the middle, right through the wickets. Bullet. 7 hits, 1 walk.
Well, the only batter retired in this inning was Austin Jackson, who led off with a grounder to short, and he'll now bat for the 2nd time in the inning. 18 hits for the Tigers. That matches the most against the Mets this season. The Nats had 18 hits and a 14-1 win against the Mets in late July. And that one gets away from d'Arnaud, and that'll move the runners to second and third. And this inning is turning into the epitome of ugliness for the Mets.
Is that a wild pitch? Pass ball.
They said wild pitch.
Oh, he just missed it. Jeez.
Second wild pitch of the inning.
Oh, they're playing the infield back now. The ship has sailed, or as Gary said earlier, horses are out of the barn.
I believe the cows ran away too. Jackson hits it out to right. That'll get a run in as Brown makes the catch. Santiago tags and comes down the line to score the 7th run of the inning, and it's 11-3 Detroit. So after 8 straight Tigers reach base, one is retired, but Tigers tack on another run anyway. First 5 runs in the inning charged to Hawkins, the last 2 to Atchison. And now with 2 out and a runner at second, Torrey Hunter, who started this whole thing with what looked like a harmless base hit up the middle, with 1 out in this inning, will bat again. And takes the curveball outside. So the Tigers on the verge of sweeping this 3-game series from the Mets, who lost 6-1 on Friday night, got shut out 3-0 yesterday. The Mets had themselves a lead today after Travis d'Arnaud's home run in the 4th. They were up 3-2. But Andy Dirks hit a 2-run homer off Dylan G in the 6th to put the Tigers in front. And now Detroit has tacked on a 7 spot here in the 9th. Tying the most runs against the Mets in any inning this year. The Phillies had a 7-run first inning against the Mets back in mid-July. One and one to Hunter with Tuiasa Sopo at second and 2 out. And Atchison misses away 2-1. Well, there's nobody else throwing in the Mets bullpen. It's up to Atchison to get through this inning. Don Kelly has come out on deck to bat for Miguel Cabrera, so Cabrera will get the rest of this game off. After a 3-hit day, including a home run. Upped his batting average to .360 for the year. He'll leave New York with 42 home runs and 128 RBIs and still 32 games left to play. And a better chance now than he had when he got to town of becoming the first ever player with back-to-back triple crowns. Now just 4 home runs off the lead. And leading handily in the other 2 categories. Two and 2 to Hunter. Strike 3 called, and the inning finally comes to an end. 11 Tigers came to bat. 7 of them scored. And the Tigers putting a hurting on the Mets bullpen in the 9th. Pinch ran stays in to catch. Matt Tuiasosopo, who pinch hit, stays in at first base. Don Kelly will play third base. And Jeremy Bonderman, in his second tour of duty with the Tigers, will come on to pitch.
Well, what is that? Oh, 13 games. I have my glasses off. Sorry, folks.
Well, it'll take a big-time rally cap to get the Mets back in this one.
You think?
I think.
Mike Davis will lead off for the Mets in the bottom of the ninth.
Mets have had just 4 hits today. And none since Travis d'Arnaud's home run in the 4th inning that put the Mets in front.
Oh, we got the Let's Go Met chant.
Bonderman, who was a mainstay in the Tigers rotation for 8 years before running into trouble, moving to Seattle, has come back to Detroit this year. And now given the role as the long man out of the Tigers bullpen. This is low and away to Davis, ball 1. Bonderman twice won 14 games for the Tigers in 05 and 06. 69 lifetime wins. Now 30 years old.
18 Tiger hits, Gary, after when they hit yesterday, 15?
15, yeah.
Ouch.
Davis is 0 for 2 and a walk today. And Bonderman falls behind him 3-0. And there's ball 4, and Ike walks for the second time. Well, Bonderman brought in with an 8-run lead. Each is a 4-pitch walk. Not what he had in mind.
No.
And now Justin Turner.
You can't walk anybody when you got a big lead. You got your players out there that have been out there on a hot day. You're not going to endear yourself to them.
Turner's 0 for 3 today. Struck out, grounded into a double play, and bounced to short. And he takes a fastball strike. Turner getting the start at third base today, with Wilmer Flores getting the day off, as the Mets try and get Flores as healthy as they can before they embark on the project of moving Flores to second base, where he played most of the year in the minors. And the curveball from Bonderman for a strike, 0-2. Jeremy Bonderman, way back when, was a first-round pick by Oakland, and he was involved in a big 3-way deal involving the Tigers, the Yankees, and the A's. Tigers got Bonderman from the A's. They sent Jeff Weaver to the Yankees, and the Yankees sent a package including Ted Lilly to Oakland. So Bonderman was the prospect in that deal and wound up probably doing the best job of any of those players following the trade. Now trying to get a second life with the Tigers. And he bounces that one. 1-2. That's 10.5 years ago, 11 years ago that trade was made.
You were a mere child.
Well, relatively, so were you. I think Bonderman was the real child. I think he was 19 years old at the time. And, you know, for a good portion of the last decade, Verlander and Bonderman formed the 1-2 in that Tigers rotation. Verlander's stock, of course, took off, and Bonderman's faded. Although this has not been the best year for Justin Verlander. He has struggled through most of the season.
Well, the shadows are coming, but no effect on anything.
Coming up next on Pix 11, it's bloopers. On SNY, it's WB Mason post-game live. We will reconvene tomorrow night on SNY for the Mets and Phillies. Here's Verlander. Raises an interesting question for Jim Leyland as he gets toward the postseason, where the Tigers certainly expect to be. If Verlander is still struggling through September, and Scherzer and Anibal Sanchez are having the seasons that they are having, would you consider starting somebody other than Verlander in the first game of a short series?
I don't know. You got to go to your bread and butter, don't you?
The question, though, is this year, is he the best choice?
Scherzer is 19-1. He could be your starter. That would be perfectly acceptable.
And Sanchez has a better ERA than Scherzer.
I still have Sanchez number 3.
8th pitch of the at bat to Turner, and the breaking ball misses. Bonderman throwing breaking ball after breaking ball with an 8-run lead. So he walked the leadoff hitter. Now he's 3-2 on Turner. And the last thing that Leland wants to do at this point is get another pitcher up.
Correct. It's like, let's go.
Juan Lagares waiting on deck. And Turner hits a double play ball right at Santiago. The turn by Infante for the 6-4-3 double play, and the third double play turned by the Tigers infield today. And just like that, the Mets are down to their last out. So 2 out and nobody on. Now Juan Lagares, who is 2 for 3 today. He has half of the Mets hits. Mets have been held hitless for the last 5 innings. After Travis d'Arnaud's first big league home run, a 2-run shot gave the Mets a 3-2 lead in the 4th. Tigers with 9 unanswered runs since then. And Lagares drives one to center. On comes Jackson to grab it. And the Tigers have completed a sweep of the 3-game series from the Mets. Winning today 11-3 as Miguel Cabrera put his stamp on this series. Andy Dirks hit the go-ahead home run. And despite d'Arnaud's first big league home run, the Tigers take all 3 in this series, winning today 11-3.
Well, it's been a Tiger onslaught and 18 hits, as Gary said. Cabrera makes that man very happy. Mr. Leland probably saying goodbye to Terry Collins, his old buddy. Porcello getting his 10th win. G kind of ran out of gas. The bullpen that's been very good had a tough one. Hawkins got lit up. d'Arnaud gets his first home run and 2 RBI in his career, his young career. The one bright spot for the Mets.
So the Mets lose their 4th straight. As you look at today's game summary, brought to you by Hyundai. As G, who had been going great guns, has a bit of a stumble today, gives up a pair of 2-run homers to Cabrera and Dirks, and that's enough to beat him on this day as the Tigers win it 11-3. Detroit sweeps the 3-game series and drops the Mets to 1-4 on this